But I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 6, 3, 2, 9, 7.
Media doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Oops, wrong button. What's a good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're here tonight with a good friend of mine and a special guest, Gigi of Shift Happens, and we'd like to say hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Thursday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and by the way, on Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, that's Shift Happens. That's when they do their thing. Same time slot, just Friday instead of Monday through Thursday. So you got a whole Monday through Friday lineup of bangers at 7 p.m. So what we do as part of this show, you guys know the drill. This is just a conversation. This is nothing. This is no declaration of truth. This is just people talking to each other, throwing out ideas and some speculations and even some beliefs. But I tend to believe that we can talk to each other, disagree or agree or anywhere in between, and not get into a poo-poo emoji internet fight. I just that's always been the premise of this show. It's like, hey, there's a lot of things happening in the world, and we should be able to talk about them without hating each other. And so that's what the show's about. It's about all those things, including, as we always say, aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, where is it? I'm out of my element for just a moment. You guys know what they are. Everything: aliens, conspiracy, paranormal, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, all the rest of that stuff. And of course, we do talk about ancient civilizations and things like this. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, actually, because things are, let's say, weird. You look at some of this ancient structure building going on, and some people say it's aliens, right? Some people say there's, the coral castle type stuff. They've got levitations happening. Some people say it's all manner of things, right? Science is still trying to figure out how they moved 10,000-ton blocks around and, things like this, right? And I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what I believe, but that's less important because you don't have to have a belief system to have a conversation. So that's what we're talking about tonight. We're doing this live to include you if you want to be part of the show. 702-9 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037 and put you on the show. It's as easy as that. And we are streaming on Rockfan, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and watching all the chat in all those places. And of course, we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And there we go. I think that kind of covers it. If you want to help the Fringe FM, please do. There's you can join the Discord at fringe.fm/chat. That will give you a direct invite. You can also download the Fringe app, and you can find that at your favorite app store, whether it's Apple or Android. It's completely free. It's the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds. Just smash the play button. 7 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Thursday, and of course on Friday as well. And you get Shift Happens. And well, then it's super simple, easy, free, and please do that. So there you go. I think that probably gets us to where we need to be to start this conversation. Let's say hi to my good friend Gigi. What's up, bro? Are you there, Gigi? In Austin, Texas.
Yahoy, yeah, coming live from Austin. Thanks for having me.
Hey, yeah, pleasure's mine, man. This is one of those ones. We should have done this a long time ago. It's just you know how it is, man. We do 4+ shows a week. It's just always like stepping on the gas, go. So my apologies to you for not having you on the show sooner. We should have seriously done this a long time ago. But we can remedy that situation tonight. So let's get to it. So actually, let's talk about your show real quick before we get going tonight, because I know. Many people here know who you are, but just in case other folks don't, let's introduce yourself and just talk about your show for a little bit, and then we'll get into Neolithic stuff and all the rest of this.
Yeah, well, my name is Gigi, and I do a show called Shift Happens with my co-host JP, who was going to be here tonight, but he couldn't. And we cover everything from UFOs, lost civilizations, paranormal, Bigfoot, you name it. Anything's on the table. And we've been doing it for almost 6 years now, and right here on the Fringe FM for pretty much the whole time. And that's about it. And if you guys want to follow us, it's really simple. Just go to shifthappensradio.com, and all of our social media links and the episode archive and everything is right there. It's just a one-stop shop. So there you go. That's about it. That's all I gotta say.
Right on. Appreciate that. So the link is actually in the description down below. It's the very top link. I moved it all the way to the top and said follow those fine folks there at shifthappensradio.com. Just click the link and go give them some love. Follow all the social media, the Twitter accounts, and all the rest that goes with it. All right. So now this is nuts. We were talking about this sort of offline the last, let's say week or 10 days, and sort of these Neolithic terms, these, creating, all these ancient structures, right? But interestingly, what happened recently is that we had a fire, an actual fire that just went down right outside of Stonehenge here. And this is from the Gazette and Herald.co.uk. Just a quick lead into what got me thinking about this type of stuff, because as you know me, I watch the news cycles, and we got the Stonehenge fire, right? A fire broke out near the iconic site of Stonehenge yesterday, and this was July 20th when this happened, and causing nearby roads to shut and emergency services to rush to the scene. Smoke clouded the area, forcing the A303 to shut down temporarily. That's a road that goes by there, a little highway. And this actually went down. So here's the quote. This is from a spokesperson from Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue Service, said, quote, "We were called just after 4 p.m. yesterday with reports of a field fire at Stonehenge. Crews from Amesbury, Wilton, and Salisbury, along with Land Rovers from, these British names, Ludgershall, Cranbourne, and water carriers from Poole. Hampshire also sent appliances to assist." So basically what happened is a fire broke out in the field just outside of Stonehenge, and it was put out very quickly, and there's a lot of smoke in the air and the rest of this. But it does make me wonder what the hell's going on, because as I was making the joke before we started tonight, it takes like you got to turn on CERN on July 5th to get a situation happen where Troubled Minds meets Shift Happens, because we're shifting timelines. We were talking about this a little bit last night, Gigi. What do you think is going on since the CERN got turned on? Do you think there's some shenanigans at play here?
I mean, all kinds of stuff has happened. I mean, since then, the Georgia Guidestones explosion, the attack at the Vatican, and the fire over there. Whether it's an attack or not, it depends on who you ask. But At least the mayor of Rome thinks there was an attack, and so do I. And then the Hoover Dam explosion has also just happened, and then we got Stonehenge explosion going down, or fire rather. And it's just this chain of events that's seems to have started right around this time.
Yeah, July 5th. So that's the day they turned on CERN, right? And we talked about that. We had a whole show on that day because, again, they said CERN's got the times 4 power or whatever they're doing, and it's been turned off for 3 years. And in the conspiracy world, a lot of folks say that when CERN is running, timelines are shifting and things become weird. Well, we did have that. We had the Georgia Guidestones, like you said, taken down, like some explosion there. We got this fire at Stonehenge. And I don't know, the show isn't about CERN and those types of things, but it does seem like this summer, right after July 5th, when they did turn CERN on, things sort of went sideways a little bit. So in those terms, like I said, we got the fire at Stonehenge, but it brings us to the other really sort of interesting thing about this, which we don't talk about too much on this show, which we really should talk about this more often. But what about in terms of Stonehenge and these huge Neolithic things? What is your take on this? I've been reading a bunch about this, over the last couple of days, and there's a lot of theories regarding why the ancients put this stuff together, why they spent all these resources and time and energy to build these Neolithic stone monuments. Is it like I put in the title here? Do you think it had anything to do with ritual magic, or do you think it was astronomy, like they say? We'll go through some of the actual ideas here tonight. But what is your initial thought on Stonehenge itself, and not just Stonehenge, but we're gonna get into some other Neolithic sites as well that are, let's say, peculiar in terms of not just what they are and how long they've been around, because a lot of that is still contested by archaeologists and anthropologists. I was going to say paleontologists, dinosaurs walking around the Neolithic sites. Anyway, so what is your initial thought on what Stonehenge is? Why did they build this? Was it simply a calendar, or do you think there's something else afoot here?
I think it's multifaceted. I personally have a feeling, yes, the calendar and celestial alignments is part of it, but also I think, first of all, I think they're a lot older than we're told. And I think about the same thing about all of the sites we're going to be talking about tonight. I think they're way older, perhaps pre-Ice Age, and I have a feeling that just as mysterious as it is that they knew how to align things and these massive structures, which I mean, some of those blocks weigh 25 tons. I mean, how the hell are these, old school people lifting 25 tons of stone as high as those top tees on the stones? But I think it's also a way for them to, because at the end of the last Ice Age, there was a huge catastrophic event where all kinds of areas around the earth were, especially North America, but England as well, were covered in, up to, if you follow the work of like Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson and Robert Schoch, and they'll tell you that there was a period of time where catastrophic floods came over, and which many religions describe the same event as well, obviously. And that water froze, and everything was under about, depending on where you're talking about, 1 to 2 miles of ice. And that would have just basically about ruined anything. And but in the case of England, though, just imagine that much water just rushing over the land, or any other, could have been any other sort of cataclysmic event, maybe a meteor impact. What's going to survive is going to be stone. You could write messages on a piece of paper. That's not going to work. That's going to be destroyed, no matter what kind of. So I guess what I'm getting at is I feel like it was a way for them to, I think they knew that something was coming, and they wanted to figure out a way to let future generations know that, hey, we used to be here, like, you're not the first ones. And I feel like I'm not explaining myself as well as I could, but I feel like that's what I feel like, though. I feel like it's almost a message left down for their descendants, just to make you go figure, like, hey, obviously somebody was here and we knew how to do some stuff, and good luck for, and I think it's one of those little things, like leaving little breadcrumbs to as much as they could, using the only method of something that would actually survive such tumultuous times, which is stone. That's pretty much the only thing you can do, is leave messages in stone. Anything else is going to either disintegrate, evaporate, or just get tarnished and destroyed through cataclysmic events.
Yeah, good stuff there. So I think, interestingly, we've heard that term written in stone, right? And I'm not so sure. Like again, if you look at some of the dates on these things, they're all over the place. They're, as some people say, it's 3,000 years old. Stonehenge, when they started building it, it was built in waves. Others say that it could be very much older than that, like you just described, maybe 10,000 or more years prior to that cataclysm flood that's in every religion the world over. I don't know. Like, I'm not exactly sure what it is. So, but what you're describing is very much like the Georgia Guidestones, right? Sort of the same idea that they were put there. In their case, messages written on there for, let's say, the next wave of humanity after a similar cataclysm. So it's weird that in modern terms, most recently they've called the Georgia Guidestones, which are now, rest in peace, Georgia Guidestones, because they got blown up. But I mean, there's that. But they called them in many ways, in many terms, by different sources, America's Stonehenge. So interesting that you kind of equate it to the same sort of thing, in that it's a message. It's a message to the future from the past that. Hey, there's things are different than you think they are, right? Something to that effect.
Yeah, and I mean, think about what we would do today. Like, if we knew for sure that a meteor or a huge asteroid was coming to Earth and was going to hit and was going to wipe out pretty much most of the population unless you went underground or something, how are you going? Like, what are you going to do? Are you just going to die off? Or are you going to try to leave a message? And perhaps leave a warning, because a lot of these ancient cultures, they track the cycles of the constellations, and a lot of these, maybe not necessarily the folks that built Stonehenge, but possibly, I mean, there's ancient cultures talking about understandings of cycles of 26,000 years, and their understanding that these cataclysmic events happen every so often. So if we knew that something was about to hit us, and we somehow figured out, oh, this tends to happen every 26 or 24,000 years or what have you, and there's nothing we could do about it. The least we could do is try to leave a mark for the future generations and try to give them a heads up on what they can expect in their future. I really feel like not all, but certainly some megalithic structures, which we'll get into some of the other ones later. I feel like that's at least one of the aspects of why they were built.
Okay, perfect. So the question tonight, guys, is for you as well. We have open lines, that's how we do this. It's just a conversation. We're talking about this stuff. We're here tonight with a good friend of mine, Gigi Rabbit. Is that appropriate to call you Gigi Rabbit? Does everybody know your last name?
Yeah, it's just Gigi.
Okay, Gigi. I did see it that way on Twitter, so I don't know. All right, we'll go with just Gigi. Gigi from Shift Happens Radio, and we're talking about these ancient sites, these megalithic sites, and why were they built, all right? And that's the question. So it's not just a question for us tonight and part of the conversation. It's the question to you. Why did they build these things? Number two, how did they build these things? And what was the purpose? What was the overall purpose for, let's say, not just when they did it, but maybe is this a time capsule as suggested here by Gigi? And others, by the way, he's not the only one saying this. So a ton of people that do say this. And what's really going on? And I do like the idea. So take this interesting nugget, because this is Troubled Minds and we do this a little bit different sometimes, just thinking in terms of what could be possible. Is this maybe a thing where it's a time machine, not in terms of like you hop in and smash the thing and you're at the dinosaurs, but more like a time capsule, right? Where you're sort of through even, there's not a lot of, as far as I'm aware, there's not a lot of actual carvings in the Stonehenge stuff itself. Am I right there? I couldn't find anything where there's inscriptions. But
I don't think there is.
Yeah, I don't think there is. Yeah, so let's say it was put together like in a particular spot, maybe a power spot, maybe ley line convergence, this type of thing, as some sort of maybe magical beacon to the future in those terms, like a sort of in the ether. Instead of carving it in stone, they put this thing in just such a way, in just the right spot to send a message to the future. And I guess you would have to be able to tap into this. And there's some weird stories, too, regarding that, where people have claimed to have phased into a different time frame or a different timeline in and around Stonehenge, and then been able to sort of accidentally find their way back. I don't know. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I don't know. But I do know that a lot of these, in fact, everything on my list tonight, every site that we're hopefully going to get into, including Stonehenge, is just so happens to be built on specific intersections of magnetic ley lines, and which goes into more of the how that these things were built. There's several different cultures from Peru all the way to Egypt and some sites in Europe. They all have this same peculiar description of how, especially when it comes to how these tons and tons of stones, we're talking about stones that weigh up to 25, up to 50, up to 100 tons, and in some cases, quite a lot more, but we'll get to that later. And as to how they floated them up there, they talk about, these ancient cultures talk about not only the magnetic ley lines being a part of it, but that they actually use the sound of a trumpet to levitate the stone, which is really interesting. Like they're leaving their legacy carved in stone. It's the last thing anybody's going to hear from them, and they're taking that last opportunity to tell us, hey, we played an instrument and sound technology floated these stones into place. And like I said, there's multiple cultures in different parts of the world that have that exact same story, which is really interesting. Even in Tibet, they've got that same story. And there's several physicists today that will tell you that given the right circumstances, which are almost impossible to get, but you could technically, they have done experiments where they have been able to levitate things on much smaller scales, much smaller scales than we see at these sites. But obviously, like we're going to get into later, and some of the images I have to share, and you guys will see hopefully, is some of this stuff just looks impossible. Absolutely impossible, even with modern technology. So they obviously had, in my opinion, some technique, some sort of skill, some sort of knowledge that we just haven't figured out this time around. Because all of our stuff is based on silicon electronics, and our technology kind of evolves from there. Maybe they had a different route of technology that started with magnetism and went a different direction. They figured out some other stuff, and so I don't know. But like I said, I really look forward to sharing some of these images and showing people how crazy some of this stuff is.
Right on. We're going to get that in a little bit. We're out of time. We're here with Gigi of Shift Happens. We're talking about Stonehenge and beyond. What about Neolithic ritual magic? Why were these things built? How were they built? What the hell is going on with this? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More Gigi of Shift Happens, Stonehenge, and your calls when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're here tonight with my good friend Gigi of Shift Happens, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight we're taking your phone calls as we discuss these. They say they're Neolithic, and that's the term, from about 2,000, 3,000 to about 10,000 years ago, okay? That's the mainstream archaeological take on these megalithic sites we're discussing tonight. But there's a few questions, right? The dates are really up in the air regarding different estimates, right? It's kind of all over the place. But the most important thing is regarding the questions is, number one, how did they build these things? Why did they build them? And what do you think the enduring legacy will be of the idea that they built these things? Again, you know, we talk about ritual magic here and some of these other things. Well, what do you think is going on with this? Is it just simply people got together and like picked up some heavy rocks and stacked them all together, right? I mean, that seems pretty. Let's say, what would you say? How would you describe that other than a lot of work? It seems like a hell of a lot of work. I don't know, right? And maybe it's the lazy guy that likes to, watch baseball on a Saturday afternoon on the couch. But lifting, maybe 10 ton stones or more and stacking them together doesn't seem like a good Saturday to me. What's up, Gigi of Shift Happens? Welcome back. Are you there, my friend?
Yes, indeed. And a little echo there. I think it's gone now. Okay.
I got you.
And yeah, so I think one thing to point out here as we go into this conversation is, because when we talk about these megalithic structures, the stones are so big, we usually describe them as far as their weight goes in terms of tons. Now, and a lot of people don't really have a point of reference as to how much a ton is. So to give you an example, the average weight of a car, according to Google, the average weight of a car is 1.4 tons. 1.4 tons. So now think about that, because the average weight of the stones at Stonehenge are 25 tons. 25 tons. So that's about the equivalent of 17 cars that you're lifting up. Now, do you really think a bunch of people with chicken bones and dental floss just wrapped that stuff around and hauled that up that way? Like, I'm really not sure. I don't know. You can't even fit enough people underneath the stone to lift it up in the first place. And that's just Stonehenge, which is minuscule compared to some of the other sites we're going to be talking about that have even crazier tonnage. That's just mind-blowing. So, but I have a feeling that, however, I don't think it must have been easy for them. It maybe not easy, but not very difficult because there's these megalithic sites all over the world, and a lot of them share the same designs, by the way. The pyramids in South America and Mexico and Europe, they all share, and in places like Pumapunku, there's very similar techniques that are found in all these different places. And they obviously figured out something. And then, what's really interesting, I think you mentioned earlier, is Coral Castle. I forget the guy's name, but the guy who built Coral Castle in Florida, he was dealing with 10, 20 stone blocks. I think in some cases 50 50-ton blocks, and he did it all by himself. And he was a tiny little man, tiny little guy. He was like 5'4". Did it all by himself. Didn't let anybody see what he was doing. And in his book, he explained that his explanation was he discovered the secrets of the pyramids, is what he cryptically wrote in his book. And he went to the grave without telling anybody how he did it. And that's still probably one of the few actual modern architectural mysteries that is legit, is Coral Castle. Lead Skalden, I think, is the guy's name. And
yep, I had to look it up. I know it was Ed something, because they call the Coral Castle Ed's place, but it's Edward Lead Skalden, I guess is how you say that. Anyway,
yeah,
I never knew his last name until you just prompted me to actually have to look it up. But yeah, so that's an interesting one. The secrets of the pyramids. Now, what the hell does that even mean? So is it just a knowledge, like a gimmick, a trick of, let's say, leverage and being able to do things by yourself, like lifting, like you're the Incredible Hulk, or is it something a little more different, something like maybe archaeoacoustics or things like this, cymatics, like we've talked about in the past as well? I don't know. There's a lot to this. We're going to get to, like I said, it's Stonehenge and beyond. We're not going to just talk about this, of course, because Stonehenge is fascinating, but there are also probably other more fascinating of these megalithic sites that we can talk about as well. So let's do this. We're still taking your calls. What do you think? Why did they build these things? How did they do it? And what do you think the enduring legacy of the actual megalithic sites was supposed to be? Is it, again, we're taking all ideas. You guys know this is Troubled Minds, so we're considering literally everything out there. But what are your thoughts? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to Matt in Colorado. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Gigi, my friend. How are you? Go right ahead.
Well, really good. Hi, Mike and Gigi. Pleasure to talk to you guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. Go right ahead.
All right. Well, I'm just tracking right along with Gigi there. I, years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, had this book that was called something like The Mysteries of the Great Pyramid. And in that, they were talking about how this book was like 1,200 pages or 600 pages. It was huge. I mean, it was 2-3 inches big. And, I'm into mathematics, and it goes into all the mathematics of the Great Pyramid, and you can use it to calculate. If you take just like the height and you divide it into the base of the Great Pyramid, you come up with the figure for pi accurate to like 7 digits. Right. Incredible, because supposedly we didn't even have an understanding of the wheel back then. So they knew pi, which is the secret to the circle, the secret to the wheel, the diameter of the earth, the circumference. But it had a bunch of other mathematics about the distance to the moon, the distance to the sun, and all these were totally just spelled out in the book. And so that's where Gigi was saying these megalithic structures, including, I'm referencing the Great Pyramid, were perhaps like time capsules to say to people in the future, we had the knowledge, we had the wisdom, we were an advanced civilization. Here's the circumference of the earth, the distance of the sun. Here's what pi is. We understand advanced mathematics, and we want to leave a record in stone that we know will sustain whatever earth changes go on for the next, 26,300 years. Okay, so yeah, that's the way to do it. And I think that's exactly what they were doing in a lot of these megalithic structures, is they were leaving time capsules behind to give us information, to give us knowledge, to give us even the knowledge that they existed, and they were advanced, intelligent civilizations quite beyond what our modern archaeological scientists would try and tell us about primitive man 26,000 years ago. And I think that number two, in terms of these megalithic structures, I'm not the first one to say this and point this out, but they seem to be located on the planet at specific points. And a lot of people call these ley lines, or the grid, the electromagnetic grid system, vortex points, various terminology, but they seem to be interacting with the electromagnetic field of the planet. And so, the question isn't necessarily that they build these things to put the energy there, but that the energy was already there. They identified them. They could sense them, like somebody, can find water or whatever with a dowsing rod. They had people that could determine and feel and sense there's energy here. This is a power spot. This is a vortex. This is a intersection of ley lines. And if you look at like between the South Seas of China, and you look at the Bermuda Triangle, and you look at the Great Pyramids, and you look at Stonehenge, you can bring up maps of these, and they're in lines. They're in straight lines. They're in intersecting points. These things seem to tie together in an energetic configuration that I think that's the larger picture of why they were building these and what they were doing with them and what they were working with them is they were working the vortices and the power spots of the planet Earth, and they were building these things there to increase them, magnify them, do something like spiritual rituals or, whatever they were doing. But that's what I think they were tapping into, right? And then the other thing, Gigi, too, I think that you were right on the money, that I think they were using sound or acoustic vibration of a particular frequency that resonated, with the granite or whatever types of stones they were moving. And they were using it to basically make it weightless. And if you look at, all the ancient hieroglyphs of the Egyptians, they always have these staffs in their hand. They have these staffs, and they have these ankhs. At the top of them is an ankh, but they're these staffs. They're like, 4 feet tall. And they have, basically, if you look at the bottom, it looks like a tuning fork. Okay, so you have a tuning fork at the bottom, you have the ankh at the top. And I think what these guys, those were devices, those were technology. And what they would do is they would strike those on the ground, and they would use those to sort of levitate or make weightless the stones. I think they probably also had ones that were, maybe sort of defensive or offensive or almost kind of weapons. So I think that the way the pyramids were constructed, and like you said, Gigi, you can go up on weights and tons, and you can find, megalithic structures and single stones that are, 80 tons. And it's only recently that we even had a crane that could lift that. So how were these people moving and lifting those things? So it makes you think about some kind of advanced technology or some kind of advanced civilization, right?
Yeah, go ahead and get that, Gigi. Matt, we got a call behind you, so we're going to cut you a little bit short tonight because we got a guest. But go ahead and respond to him, and then we'll keep on trucking.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right on the money too, and yeah, you're right on the money, man. As far as my opinion goes, they obviously, they had, we think of technology as what we know technology to be. That doesn't mean that there were not other types of technology before, and especially, I don't think this is the first time that the human race has achieved technological awesomeness, so to speak. I think, because, every 26,000 years or so, according to, certain various cultures around the world, certain catastrophes happen. And if it's not every 26,000 years, I mean, surely, things happen, whether it's an asteroid or climate change or whatever. People get wiped out. I mean, they found massive cities underground, outside of underwater rather. outside of India that, the mainstream archaeologists denied would ever be there. And it took a team of, just average, regular, amateur, researchers to go down there and find it. And sure enough, there it was, which that legend was written down, 5,000-10,000 years ago in the Bhagavad Gita. And so I think it's important to really pay attention to some of these ancient cultures and ancient religious texts. Not so much not always in a literal sense, but when it comes to things like we mentioned before, like the Great Flood, just about every religion and culture has that exact same story, even down to the release of the dove, right? It's so obviously they're not talking about nothing at all, and just like in that same sense, a lot of these cultures describe using, in the best of terms that they could come up with their limited vocabulary, saying things like, "Oh, we levitated them with the sound of a trumpet." That's probably the best that they could describe, but yeah, so I agree with you quite a bit on a lot of that, but anyway, I know we got to move on here, so
we got to do the thing. Matt, you're the best. I appreciate the call. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being you. He's got a book called Escape the Matrix and Explore Reality, a guide to radical transformation and empowerment. Links in the description with a coupon code for a free copy of that. Check it out. Matt, you're the best. Thanks for hanging out, and always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for having me on. Troubled Minds is like going to the gym for your mind.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
There you go.
Appreciate it, brother. We're still talking about this, Stonehenge and beyond. Now, I want to point out, too, real quick. So regarding this sort of archaeoacoustics and levitation through sound and this idea, right? It's interesting that in modern terms, let's say in the last 2-3 years, this is sort of resurfaced. And with Tom DeLonge, right, and in that To the Stars Academy and this UFO type stuff, they talk about this metamaterial that was supposedly broken off of the Roswell UFO crash, or the magnesium bismuth thing, right? And they, according to some, and again, I still haven't seen that this is a real thing yet, but according to some, putting terahertz frequencies onto this metamaterial that came supposedly from the Roswell crash itself would make the thing levitate. All right. So in interesting terms, well, is this just all like a big woo-woo circle, what the hell's going on, or are we literally talking about similar things? Pretty bizarre. I find that fascinating that it kind of comes around into modern terms as well, not just the old idea of levitating blocks through some sort of magic, but we're talking about it through not just magic but technology now. Pretty wild stuff. Let's go. We're still doing this, guys, at 702-957-1037, talking about Stonehenge and beyond. And what is this? How did they build these things? Why did they build them? What do you think the long-term legacy is? Is it magic? Is it not? Is it just like old school blood, sweat, and tears putting these rocks together? I don't know. You tell me. Let's go. We're here with Gigi of Shift Happens Radio. Let's go to Axel. Axel in Illinois. You're on Troubled Minds, my friend. Are you there? Test 1, 2.
I am here, my friend.
Go right ahead, man. I think you're going to pour some cold water on us, but you're welcome to.
I know he is.
Do your thing, Ronnie. Do your thing.
I was just here to say, so Stonehenge was mostly fallen down in the late 19th century, Stonehenge specifically, and they actually put a lot of time and effort into rebuilding it, like in the 1940s and 50s, and and there was a big issue about that at the time because they were saying like, hey, how are we really going to ever figure out where the stones really were if we move them around, if we put another one on top of, we like raise the stones back up? And so Stonehenge specifically is a little bit fake. Like they put the stones back up and they like made some reinforcements to some of them. And some people say they brought in some other stones. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I haven't gotten that deep into it. But yeah, Stonehenge specifically in its current form is a bit of a tourist trap they developed in the 1960s. It's not, it wasn't in that formation thousands of years ago. They like put it back together like in the 1950s.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did see the pictures you put in the Discord. If you guys want to know what he's talking about, I'll actually pull those pictures up and put them on the stream as well. Want to take that, Gigi? I'll respond to that as well.
Yeah, I've definitely that's pretty accurate. And that's I've got several other sites that we're going to talk about later that haven't had such treatment, that are dealing with a lot more tonnage as well. Is tonnage a word? I'm not sure. I guess I've made it a word. No,
it's totally a word. It's totally a word. You're in the right place. I'm a commercial truck driver. We talk about tonnage all the time.
Right on. But yeah, Axel's right. They definitely reassembled some of the rocks and they they historized it,
right.
And that's pretty well documented. And but who's to I would imagine that they tried their best to put it back to how it was, but at the same time they didn't have any idea how it was.
I know there were debates at the time where scholars wanted them to leave them alone because they didn't know where they really were, and they thought they'd get better techniques in the future.
Yeah. So that's a shame.
So not to throw cold water on everything. I just want to talk about Stonehenge specifically, but also say, my friends out there, keep your eyes out. You can't always trust everything at face value. I know you all know that, but still, keep your head on a swivel.
100%. 100%. You got a woo-woo take on how maybe some of this stuff did happen? We got maybe a minute left before we got to bounce here. You got a less cold, maybe a warm water take here?
Honestly, these sites probably really were used for rituals. I mean, there's this whole idea, David Graeber's book, The Dawn of History, talks a lot about how a lot of ancient societies probably were seasonal. They would be hunter-gatherers for most of the year. They come together for seasonal rituals around these ritual sites. So I believe that. I think it probably was a ritual site. It probably was in some sense set up along with the stars and stuff. So yeah, I definitely think these are probably ritual sites. It's just that you always be careful about the details. Don't there's always tricks in there somewhere.
Hey, fake news has always been a thing. It's not just not a last 2 year type thing. Axel, you're the best. I appreciate it, bro. We're gonna do the thing. Dip out if you want to pop back in later and add some more stuff. You're welcome.
I gotta go to bed, but I love all of you. So take care, my friends.
Appreciate it very much. You're the best, Axel. Have a great night. Thanks for popping in and giving us some cold water. And that's the thing, though. I mean that in the best way, because this is not this show and these conversations are not about the echo chamber of let's talk woo woo and aliens, right? It's fascinating to consider those concepts, but do I think that's always true? No. And so that's why we do it in this format. Like I said, unscripted is the best way, and asking for everybody's takes is the way we do this. Gigi, any quick take on that before we go to a break here?
I've just got to say, we've got way crazier, mind-blowing structures to talk about when we come back.
There you go. Which we're gonna, again, it's called Stonehenge and Beyond tonight, because we're gonna talk about these other megalithic structures and how, well, maybe this one is a fabricated tourist trap. There are others that seem to not be that at all. So we're here again with Gigi, a good friend of mine from Shift Happens Radio, and we're talking about, Stonehenge. We're talking about megalithic structures. We're talking about maybe this ritual magic situation. What the hell is really going on here? What do you believe? And of course, belief isn't always the thing, but let's just have a conversation. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. We're here again, like I said, with my good friend Gigi of Shift Happens, and we're talking about this Neolithic ritual magic, meaning, Stonehenge. Megalithic structures, how did they build these things? Not only that, why did they build these things? And what do you think the lasting legacy of these things were, according to the ancients that built them? Again, we're doing our thing, hanging out. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds coming up. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange, here with Gigi of Shift Happens. Don't go anywhere. More of all this and your calls when we return. Be right back.
You're listening to Troubled Minds. Join us as we discuss an upside-down world that nobody seems to notice.
We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon. Aliens.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in their brain.
So we got, all right, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. Been asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Yo ho, yo ho. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. And yo-hoy, because we're here with Gigi of Shift Happens, and we're talking about megalithic structures. How do they put these things together? What the hell is going on with this? Some people say it's 3,000 years old. Some people say it's 100,000 years old. Of course, we're kind of conflating a bunch of things, but what do you think actually is part of this? These huge stone structures going on, and why did they put them there? How did they put them there? What was the purpose? Do you think that's there's some ritual magic happening? Do you think it's sort of a time capsule situation where they're trying to tell the future something? Or do you think it's something else entirely? As you know, this is the Question Show. We'll get together and talk about all these things. And we're taking your calls because, of course, we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And, well, you tell me. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure I got a dog in this fight, to be perfectly honest, because I do see that we have this situation with Stonehenge that seems to be, as Axel stated, and he's completely correct, that it was maybe manufactured as a tourist trap. But there are other megalithic structures that are nowhere near anything like that. And what does that mean? Where did it come from, and why are we still talking about them? Is it that compelling, or are we just knuckleheads? I don't know. As always, that's always my take, because I always consider that I may be just a giant knucklehead. So we're taking your phone calls at 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Put you on the show as easy as that. And let's get back to Gigi. Yahoy! What's up, brother? How are you?
Yahoy, yahoy. And all right, so now I want to move on to, Puma Punku came up in the chat during the last break and just before. And I do have some images to share of Puma Punku. So I'm going to go ahead. Should I put that in the show chat channel? Is that where I should put those? And then you could grab them from there?
Yep, that's perfect. That's perfect. That'll work.
All right. So there's the first one, and there is the second one. But while we wait for you to put those up, why don't we go ahead and take the Night Stalker's call?
Yeah, let's do that. We're going to go to Derek in Massachusetts. He says it's unbearably loud in here. My headphones are messing up. You're good, bro. Derek in Massachusetts, you're on with Mike and Gigi. Go right ahead. What's your take on this megalithic structure stuff, my friend?
Yo, can you hear me, guys?
Loud and clear, man. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Wow. Shifted minds. Trouble happens. Crazy.
Trouble happens.
Crazy stuff. I got to be real quick because it's like kind of hectic in here, and it's loud, and my headphones are all messed up. But real quick take, just to kind of bring the ley line thing into it and kind of connect it to what Gigi was talking about at the very beginning with like the Georgia Guidestones and the Hoover Dam and the Vatican and all that kind of stuff. In the chat, I commented a picture of the Earth with Christmas lights all around it, and I said, when one goes off, they all go off, something like that. And meaning like I do believe it's on this world grid. It's like I call it the ley line portal grid, and specifically, I believe Stonehenge is on something called Michael's ley line, like St. Michael's ley line. Rivers will know way more about it than I do, but it like connects a bunch of stuff in Britain. But then it goes down and connects a bunch of stuff like on the other side. And then during the summer solstice, it goes across the Atlantic and goes right through America's Stonehenge in New Hampshire, like Mystery Hill, the one that Lovecraft went to and everything. And then from there, if you keep going, it goes right through Nova Scotia with all the Oak Island mystery stuff. Goes right through Boston, Philadelphia, New York, not in that order. Washington D.C. goes down through the Georgia Guidestones, keep going down and hits Teotihuacan in Mexico, and then around the world seemingly. And that's just one line, you know. So I think that CERN, to just paraphrase it unbelievably quickly, I think what they're trying to do, like the way they're trying to bring in the Lovecraftian old ones or whatever, is they're trying to collapse the pillars of reality that separate the realms. And the way to do that is rituals on these sacred spots, on these, like Stonehenge didn't create the spot. There was these natural points that exist on the earth body, the same way we have chakra points, or like where you put actual acupuncture needles on the human body, like so below they exist. So these structures are just built on top of it. But then I think the elites or whoever, the grand end game is to collapse that whole thing. So the things that try to like make deals with secret societies or need to work with intermediaries to like have them open portals or do rituals to let them get in here, that they don't need that anymore. They can just bust right through, you know? So when that happens, when CERN fires up, when they do some shooting on one weird spot, when they put a fire on another weird spot, that could cause like the crystal site thing. When one blows up, they all kind of start to flicker. Or like if you watch Caddyshack, when like when like Bill Murray starts to like pump the water into the like down to try to find the gopher, and all of a sudden all the water starts like exploding out all these random holes all over the golf course. That's kind of what the analogy, like kind of how I see it in my head. Like they're messing with the pillars of reality, which is the ley line portal grid. It's like the thing that binds everything together. It's like Indra's web. And when they shake that, everything starts to flicker. So, you know? And then, yeah, that's basically it. I mean, I think what it's used for, I think it's for, rituals, but it's an naturally existing spot. Like they might have amplified it by putting something on there, but it's just a natural point. And I think that, like the fire isn't happening in Stonehenge, in the stone circle, obviously. So some people are like, oh, who really cares? But like you said during the description that it was happening kind of in that Avebury region. Like Avebury is another sacred site that has weird stuff on it, you know? So people like consider them to be separate spots, but if you zoom out on the map, they're very close together and all I have is just a river in between it. And to me, that's the portal spot. That's like if you open a modem or whatever, you see all the Ethernet cables of the river and then there's different chips and stuff. That's kind of the sacred spots.
Nice. It's separated by a river of all things, right?
Exactly. You can hear me and everything, right?
Yeah, perfect. Really, perfect. Loud and clear, man.
I'll wrap it up with this, but like so what I just said, I think is kind of like becoming more well established. Like you'll hear that from people who aren't just me. Like there's a guy who wrote a book called On the Templar Lines that have named that line the Arcadian Line, the one that goes through all the cities and through America's Stonehenge and through the real Stonehenge and down through Jordan and all that kind of stuff. But what I think it really is, like what the purpose was initially beyond just amplifying an existing power spot, it's like to use different terms, like the ley line grid, the natural structure that exists on every planet and then within galaxies, like that the fractally up and down the line binds everything together, is the Holy Grail. And then like, I know they're not in the same story, but like the Ark of the Covenant is the Ark, the thing that holds this like precious thing that is the ley line portal grid, is the sacred sites that are built on top of it. And that's kind of like, that's, I think, in this weird, super, super speculative, just hot take more than I think it actually happened. But I think like, that's what separated, that's what keeps, like in every mythology, in every fantasy, there was a time of magic, a time when whatever ruled the planet, a time when like and then the age of man came up, and they cast these things out. Like what the casting out is, that I think is like building the structures on this power grid to like stabilize reality. And whether that caused the Great Flood, or that was like to stop the Great Flood, or whatever, I think it plays a part in it. And it's just longer than I wanted to be, and I'm really rambling bad. I don't know how they did it. Sorry, real quick, this is the last thing. How they did it, I've heard one theory, Stephen Meller, who's a big like chemist researcher, talks about these discs that they almost look like propellers that like, and different people talked about it. I think it came up on the Duncan episode of Rogan recently. And but the way Meller talks about it is that they use it to bounce sound from one disc to the other, and it has like the sound wave bounces off the disc, and like so it hits the disc and comes back as they go through each other. Like the two different waves create like a gravity well in between it. Like the two sine waves create a gravity well, and in that gravity well, things are weightless. So you can within that field, you can pick up anything. You can pick up a giant 20-ton brick with your pinky, because things have no weight within that gravity well. And then the weirdest theory is that whoever did it are like ascended masters that exist on the fifth dimension, and they made it on the fifth dimension, and it just appeared in physical reality.
If you want to go full woo, full woo. Full woo.
Sorry for rambling. I'm tucking on the corner looking at my boss and stuff. But
no, you're good.
Sorry for talking so fast.
Hey, real quick, if you got 30 seconds before you bounce. So if that explosion on sort of that ley line portal grid of the Georgia Guidestones, was that part of a ritual? Was that a way to stop a ritual? What do you think that is about?
I mean, I don't know for sure, but like I think it could work like you do the way you do with acupuncture. You can like put needles and say spot L7 and then S2, and that will heal your back, or that will stop your headache. So like putting something in a spot elicits an effect on the whole body. So doing something on one of these spots on the Earth body will elicit an effect on the whole Earth. So like do something here, it might cause an earthquake on the antipodal spot, or on who knows. But I think as far as like if CERN is a part of this, if they are firing up for what seems like some kind of end game that is years and years and years and generations in the making, when the pillars collapse, it's like the whack-a-mole game exploding. All the whole stuff will get smoked up, But
perfect.
I do have to go now, though.
Go get it. Go get it. You're the best. Derek the Night Stalker, thanks for dipping in. Go get it. Go slaughter that stock, man. If you don't do it, nobody's going to do it. Derek here, a good friend of mine, good friend of Gigi's, good friend of the show, good friend of the Fringe, and just these conversations. He's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. Links in the description down below. He's just got a trailer. You can see him stalking. Have a great one, bro. Thank you. Give him a follow, please. Links in the description down below. He's got a trailer of him stalking, and let's inspire him to do more stuff. So before we get to Pumu Punku, anything on what Derek just said there, Gigi? Fantastic stuff from him as always. He's brilliant, that guy. I tell you what.
Yeah, his mind is a little bit beyond me. So I very much am fascinated with what he just said, and I'm still processing it.
Fair enough. We're taking your calls, guys. If you want to be part of the show, we're here with Gigi as Shift Happens. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. I think that clears the calls. So we're going to get into Pumu Punku now, because we're talking about these megalithic structures. And again, I'm calling it Neolithic ritual magic, because that's what the actual archaeological time frame is in which they describe this, the Stone Age and the the Bronze Age, and how they're kind of coming together. But as we discussed earlier, Gigi, a lot of these sites, these megalithic sites, are quite a bit older than that. So let's get to Pumu Punku. What you got? I got these images. I'm gonna put them up on the screen right here. Go right ahead.
All right, so let's put up the first image first with the tiny little lady in front of the massive stone wall. Are you able to put that up on the YouTube?
Yep. It is up right now. Go right ahead.
Okay. So, I guess there's a delay. Okay, there it is. So, here's the thing. Now, keep in mind, these stones at Pumu Punku, the average weight is 100 tons. And again, the average weight of your Toyota Camry is 1.4 tons. We're talking about 100-ton stones here. Some of these are probably more like 50. That big one on the right is probably more like 150. But here's the thing you really want to look at is you see the lady in the grass. Now look directly straight up to the topmost rock that's right above her. And do you see how it just fits snug right in there like a jigsaw puzzle, like it was molded out of putty, you know? I mean, that it's not like they just found these rocks that just so happened to fit each other perfectly. They had some technology to shape them in some way to actually lock and fit to some points at which, especially if you look at like the bottom left corner of that rock, in its connection to the rock next to it, you can't even fit a sheet of paper in between those lines. I mean, it's absolutely perfect. And to say that they just chiseled this and lifted it up with a, you know, dental floss or
a hill of sand and some logs underneath it. Yeah, I think that's the term, right? Like that's what modern archaeology says regarding this type of stuff. Anthropology says is that they were able to get these stones somehow and then put them on these rollers of like trees and roll them to the spot. But then again, that you still have this challenge of getting them up there. And if anybody's ever tried to lift anything heavy, well, there's that.
Yeah,
this is beyond heavy.
I mean,
this is far beyond heavy.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way. And on top of that, especially if you were to get even just a 50-ton stone. Okay, so let's do the math here. Let's see. So 100. So the average weight of a stone at Pumapuku is supposedly 100 tons. So and then the average weight of a car is 1.4 tons. You do the math. So the average stone is equal to the weight of 71 cars. If you put that much weight onto wooden rollers, guess what's going to happen? It just crushes the wood. It just absolutely decimates the wood. It just crushes it. It's not that wood isn't going to hold up that weight. There's been so many experiments done where they tried to disprove all these fancy claims, and they try to be like, oh, they just use wooden rollers, and 9 times out of 10, the weight just smashes the wood, after rolling it like 5 meters, and not to mention, this stone was quarried from, I can't remember exactly with Pumapunku, but it was from pretty far away. They didn't just pick it up and put it up right there. Like, they quarried this stuff from quite a distance. And it's just preposterous to me how people think that they're just using hands and rope and wood to lift this stuff. I mean, so anyway, but let's get to let's get to the second image.
Sure. Going
that
up,
I pulled up there.
Going up right now. Here we go.
All right, is it up?
Yep, it is up.
All right, now look at that. What could only be described as laser precision in the carving of. So this is one of those famous H blocks. I should have gotten an image of the whole H block, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the audience probably know the H blocks from Pumapunku and how they interlock and how massive they are. But just look at the perfection of the carving. That is clearly not some guy with a hammer and a chisel and a chicken bone. That is laser precise. Absolutely, you can see the ruler device right there, calculating a perfect right angle right there at the corner, and you see the lines go all the way around. I mean, this is not primitive stuff. This is laser accurate, and I have no idea how they did it, but I know how they didn't do it. They definitely didn't do it by chiseling it with a rock and hammer. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could be. So I got the H blocks up on the screen here.
Yeah.
So we added this. So this is exactly what he's talking about. And I did see this, and this is one of those things that let's say at the very least it's difficult to explain. It's very, very difficult to explain. How did they do this? And you can say like, well, come on, Mike, come on, Gigi. Like, look at this stuff. It's kind of beat up. But some of the things aren't laser precision. Well, what do you think they were 10,000 years ago, right? I mean, they've taken like a world of beating. And not only that, have you heard this theory, Gigi, regarding Puma Punku? I got to say correctly, is that it looks like they've been scattered around, like it was something else, and then it got attacked, destroyed, like blocks.
It looks like Godzilla came in and kicked it around like a bunch of Legos. Yeah, I mean the site was just decimated, and the weight of these things, are, again, we're talking 100+ tons of rock, just being as if they were blown over by wind somehow. Just scattered all across the site, which is just as mystifying as these carves and cuts by themselves.
Yeah, which is wild here. And that's the thing, right? It's like, okay, so they spent all this time building these things. Some of these cuts are so precise that it seems like you didn't get a chisel in another rock and like, or even, I mean, we're talking, okay, so if we're talking, what's the actual mainstream date on this? Is 10,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago? I'll actually find that real quick. So the thing is this, right? If they were able to do this, all right, and spend all the time doing this, what the hell destroyed it? I think that's the weird part. It like there's no like hurricane that just rolls through and like picks up a 20-ton rock and like tosses it around, right? Like I don't think that's a thing. I just don't think that's a thing. I mean, if it is,
exactly.
I mean, maybe on Jupiter, maybe that's a thing.
Yeah, some sort of catastrophe beyond catastrophes happened there that we can't even conceive of. Because you could take a tropical storm, run it through that place. You're not moving 100-ton stone rock. That is not moving, and much less being tossed around like Godzilla kicking Legos around. It's when you and the only way to really get a full concept of that is to really look at aerial photos of the whole site and see like, oh, like this was something came here and just blew this stuff up, and the amount of force that would be required to kick around 100-ton stones, 150-ton stones, is just quite literally incomprehensible to us. We don't know anything that can do that.
No, not on this earth. The thing too, the crazy part is, so they date Puma Punku to AD 536. So this is like,
that's the thing though, is because they attribute it to the Incas, right? If you go to, same thing with Saksay Juan, which we're going to get to that next. But they attribute it to the Incas. But when you actually ask the Incas, they'll tell you, oh no, this was already here before we got here. This was here thousands of years ago. But it's our textbooks that tell us that it was, 500 AD or 150 AD or whatever. And but the Incas themselves don't even take credit for it. And you think, like, don't you think they would? If they did that, don't you think they would? But they don't. And this is one of the most mysterious sites in the world. Probably the second or third most mysterious. We've still got I know we got a break coming up. We still got Saksay Juan, and then the real ball breaker is Baalbek in Lebanon, and we're gonna get into that later.
Okay, there you go. Coming up, there's your teaser for the next segment. We're here with Gigi of Shift Happens. I'm Michael Strange. We're talking about these megalithic sites. How old are they? How did they build them? What is the lasting legacy of the builders? What do you believe? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're here tonight with my good friend Gigi of Shift Happens, and we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're talking about these megalithic structures. We started with Stonehenge. And now look, Stonehenge is a particular case, maybe a tourist trap, but what about Puma Punku? What about these other megalithic structures that have been around for who knows how long, and how big are these damn things? Why did they put them together? What do you think the lasting legacy is, and what was the purpose? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. You can talk to me. You can talk to Gigi. You can talk to whoever else might be listening out there. And you never know who might be listening. I always say that. For all we know, I used to make the joke that you never know, Vladimir Putin might be listening, and then he started a war on Ukraine, and that joke became not as funny as it used to be. What's up, Gigi? Welcome back. Are you there, my friend?
Yes, and thanks again for having me. And real quick, so are we doing another hour and a half or another half hour?
Okay, so your time is yours. I don't lay claim to any of it. So what we're going to do is we'll do the couple hours on Fringe, and if you're feeling it, we'll go a little long. That's cool. So usually I get kind of gauge it on the calls we get. So if people keep calling, we'll go a little bit long. So it's completely up to you. We're not going to blast this and do a 6-hour situation or anything like that, but it's your time, not mine, so you tell me. And that was a joke over on, maybe not a joke, but it may be a hopeful statement over on Rockfin. I think we'll break 4+ hours, so we don't have to do that. Was just somebody saying that. Anyway.
I was going to say, I was just wondering, because I do have quite a bit more to cover. So because if we're only doing 30 more minutes, then I would have to squeeze some stuff in real quick. But if we're going to go,
if you got extra time, we got some extra time for you. That's the thing. So
perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Because I think we could probably spend this next half hour on Saksay Juan alone. So how about this? I'm going to go ahead and give you the next two pictures.
Okay. Perfect.
From Saksay Juan, which is in Cusco, Peru. This is probably the second most impressive megalithic structure in the world, as far as my opinion goes. So there's a couple of pictures there. Did the first one go through?
First one did not. It's a weird file. I'm putting the other one up, though, if you want to start with the second one.
Okay, oh no, the first one is the best one. Here, I'm gonna have to do a thing here.
That's okay. You want a minute? We got a caller if you want a minute.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let Jen talk. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So we're talking about these megalithic structures, guys. What do you think? The questions tonight are this. We're here with Gigi as Shift Happens, and the discussion is as such. Why did the ancients build these things? Number one, how did they do it, and what is the lasting legacy they expect from us, being the future generations of the human peoples, and what are we expected to believe or find regarding their, let's say, architecture? And in some cases, it's beyond architecture. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's go to Jen in Missouri. You're on Troubled Minds, my friend, with Mike and Gigi. How are you tonight?
Hey, Gigi. Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's up?
Good evening. What's going on?
Hello. Not much. Listening in. Really good stuff. Interesting.
Thank you.
As usual. Well, I have thoughts on this.
Sure. What do you think? What are the thoughts? I'm sure you know something about these megalithic structures. This is one of those ones that there's so many theories about it, right? And again, I'm glad Nightstalker called in to kind of add sort of that ritual ley line portal grid situation to all this. But what do you got? What are your thoughts on this in particular?
Okay, well, I have ideas about what could be going on, what the purpose was. I think that they were building these structures to reveal the secrets of their technology to the future generations. They took probably quite a time, maybe who knows how much time, to understand the natural technologies of the Earth itself and of the universe. And I think that they were taking these technology, this technology that they had learned from the natural forces of the Earth itself, what we would call magic, and they had completely mastered it in a way, and they were retaining that and in all of these structures. and each structure, in a way, portrays a different type of technology, I think. And I think that they were trying to reveal this to us. I think we've only been able to emulate it with our own technology. But I think if we could truly grasp their understanding of the forces and the natural forces that they were working with, we could reach a higher understanding. And I think that of the world we live in. And I think that the technologies they were using were superior by far because they were driven by natural forces. And they didn't require, of course, it required some physical work. But all these different Neolithic monuments display a different technology. When you look at the Mesoamerican Neolithic structures, they're using basalt. And basalt it's a type, and you talk about melting rock. Well, a volcano does a very good job of doing that. And when you have something like basalt, which is a lot of these structures are made out of that, and Easter Island itself, just a lot of different areas, specifically located near these locations, especially in South America and around the world. Basalt stone itself, as it's cooling, has a very strong magnetic field. One, it also can be shaped as it's cooling because it's in a form of lava. And they were using the Earth's natural forces to do these things in every single aspect. Limestone itself also can be a product or altered by volcanic activity. But in addition to that, you have the Earth's magnetic field itself, which at this time as of 45,000 years ago, was it was at least three times as strong as the Earth's magnetic field is today. They were living in a different time in the whole phase of what the Earth was doing. But we still have those magnetic ley lines that show us where these fields were, where they were strongest. And so it's true what Derek is saying. And there's an emphasis there that the Earth's field in general, in these specific locations, was much more powerful. And they were using these magnetic fields, I believe, you can bore a hole, straight, perfect hole through, you can cut perfect angles by the use of this with magnetic manipulation. Essentially, if you're cutting a stone, it's much like a drill or like a cutting of a straight line, like you would do with an edge saw or anything like that. They were able to do anything like that, I think. And I think that they were manipulating, in the book by Edward Leeds Scallon, the Latvian stone master, a descendant of stone masters, by the way, the builder of Coral Castle. He did have an understanding of this, and I think that he was manipulating, and explains it in his book, Magnetic Currents, that he was not only demagnetizing, remagnetizing, reversing the magnetism, and was able to, the same strength that's in the actual Earth itself in those locations is the same strength that's lifting it up, because he would reverse the magnetic poles using virgin magnets and all these different things. You also have the aspect of lightning, and lightning will magnetize stones. And I think that's important to mention because I think that they were very knowledgeable about all of this, and we are not. And I think that they were trying to reveal that in the technology itself, it is established in it, and they're revealing what they knew that would be necessary to reach, and they were trying to display the magnificence of what could be accomplished by lifting, 100-ton, 50-ton stones. And it's not just that they were, it is, in my opinion, a type of magic that they were using the natural forces of the Earth. But how do you melt a rock? The Earth can melt a rock, and that's with lava. And you're going to have that, like I said, with the basalt structures, where you have these incredible, massive heads down in, I think, and all of this was in the Levantine times, so of the Earth itself, where the Earth's magnetic field was, they say they think at least 3 times stronger than it is now. So the Earth itself has a stronger field and has been decreasing pretty much for the last 50,000 years. But in those times, and if you even, real quick, I'm sorry, and going back even to where the Stonehenge is located, the soil itself has a magnetism to it. that they can detect that is it's stronger than in other locations. And it's got a lot to do with this magnetism. And the magnetism itself of the Earth, and this element of magnet, could be the very source of every power in the natural universe. Even lightning itself it's not electricity, it is plasma. And plasma is manipulated by magnetism. And you'll see the same thing with sound. Like we were talking about the idea that sound could move objects. And that is true. Acoustic phonons can be moved and manipulated by magnetism. And it's one of the only forces that can move it. And it can not only do that, but it can magnetize non-magnetic objects. So the use of sound is one aspect of it, but there's something in the sound itself that is manipulated by the Earth's magnetic field itself of magnetism. And magnet itself sounds an awful lot like magic. And what these people were doing, I mean, they could turn things in their hands, they could make perfect round circles, and they could cut stone, and you can mold lava stone. And as basalt cools, it becomes increasingly more magnetic. And so in limestone itself, though, it's important to mention. Okay, Coral Castle was built out of limestone that had coral in it. And this limestone was the same, similar. Limestone was used for the Egyptian pyramids, and it was used for Coral Castle. As far as the stones that were used at Stonehenge, it'd be interesting to find, I mean, I'm not exactly sure of the makeup of that. They have redone a lot of it. But I think that they were making use of these natural elements of the most powerful forces of technology in our universe that are on display in our own planet. And we're ignoring all of them. And we're imitating, we're just mimicking that technology today.
I love it. Great takes as always, Jen. You're the best. You got a response for her, Gigi?
Nothing other than right the hell on. Yeah, you definitely know your stuff, and yeah, very well said, very well spoken.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
No, but I appreciate it. You have a great night, and Gigi, you're an awesome show.
Thank you for the call. Jen here, good friend of mine, good friend of the show. She's got a YouTube channel. Links in the description down below. These kind folks don't call for me to plug their stuff. I do it because they're kind enough to contribute to these shows every night, most nights, and all the rest of that. Links in the description. Please follow not just Jen, everybody else, including what's up, Gigi, Shift Happens, shifthappensradio.com. All right, so we got the images we're talking about. I see you on the phone, Kelly. Hang tight. Please be patient. We got a guest with us tonight. So we're going to get to the next thing, and then we'll go to Kelly on the phones. So what do you got regarding, the time frame as much as I do. We got about, let's say, 12 minutes before top of the hour. So let's start whatever you're going to do and kind of round it out for radio, just so they kind of have like a final thought on what you're going to present here. And then we do have some extra time after that. So go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, just want to, basically, if you want to put, we could probably skip that first image that I just put, but the last image I just put that took me about 5 minutes to figure out how to post it on there. If you want to put that up on YouTube.
Got it.
And so now let's take a look at it. Okay, so this is Saksay Juan in Cusco, Peru, 12,000 feet up. And again, this is... our Western history books will tell us that the Incas built this, but if you ask the Incas, they say, "Oh no, this was already here. We had nothing to do with this." So according to the Incas, this is going way BC, and what we're looking at here now, the scale is kind of hard to tell, but remember the other photo with that lady in the pink clothes, and she was a tiny little speck, and the wall was absolutely massive behind her over there in Pumapunku. Well, this is kind of a similar type of wall. These stones that we are looking at here are anywhere between 50 and 100 tons. And the one in the middle, no, not that image. Not that image. That one. Yes. Okay, I think there's a delay on YouTube.
Yeah, you're like it's almost a minute delay on YouTube, so you're behind. But yeah, so
Okay.
I popped back to Puma Punku so we could see what you were talking about. So as you're talking about it, I'm doing it. Don't you worry, my friend. You just assume that all the stuff is how it should be because Michael Strange is very good. I have extra arms, by the way. They call me Cthulhu Jr. Go ahead, sir.
All right, perfect. So, that stone you're looking at in the middle, you see that green line that's kind of outlining the outline of the rock. We're talking about somewhere between a 25 and 50 ton stone that's lifted right there. And do you see how intricately, perfectly connected it is with all the stones around it? I mean, that's like laser work, you know? I mean, that's not the result of somebody chipping stones with a bone. Just another example of this, you know? I mean, that's a massive piece of rock. Again, you know, let's just assume the least that it's only 25 tons. That's still, 25 divided by 1.4. Can't quite do that off the top of my head.
I've got advice for you. Never do math on a live stream or a live radio show. Don't ever do that.
That's 17 cars worth of weight.
Perfect.
Right there, that is cut and shaped proportionately and perfectly with almost laser precision, especially on the bottom layer there. You couldn't fit a credit card in there if you tried. You know, I mean, this is, it's not like they just found some rocks in the ground and put them up. Like, they obviously had some sort of method to shape these rocks and essentially mold them like putty and put them into place and interlock them like this. And that's just one piece of one wall of all of Saksay Juan. It's the whole site is filled with anomalies like this, and it just makes you wonder what the hell. How the hell? I mean, we would have a tough time just lifting the rock up there in the first place, much less carving it, you know, and getting in shape and getting all the other rocks in there. Unfortunately, I wish there was a better view where you could see a better scale of it, you know, with a person in front of the wall so you could see how massive this really is, because it kind of looks like a small rock, you know. But like I said, this all those rocks on this wall are anywhere from 25 to 100 tons. And that's probably around the 25 to 50 range right there. And I mean, just look at that. Do you really think, you know, a bunch of cavemen running around with bananas and hitting people over the head with clubs did that? You know, like, no, this is they had some kind of technology that we just because we don't understand it today, or we don't understand what it was, doesn't mean that they didn't have it, you know?
Yeah. So to add to that, Jennifer, who just called, said, in short, sorry for the ramble. No, your rambles are gold, Jennifer. We should have great respect for our ancestors. Everything we know and have today was someone's thought or dream yesterday. And I think that's very well put. And this is the thing too. So how do we define how this happened? Like we got modern machinery, right? We got tractors and cranes and, you know, like all kinds of whack stuff. We'll even invent things that we need to make them happen. But, well, in the old days, I mean, I'm still waiting for the time they like unearth a crane in some archaeological dig, right? or a UFO or something, right? They're like, have you seen that meme? It's like a cartoon meme where there's like a archaeologist digging and there's like kind of halfway into the dirt and there's like a T-Rex with like a UFO in its mouth. And the two archaeologists are like, well, this complicates things.
No, I haven't seen that. But
there
that
you
sounds
go.
good.
That sounds good. All right, we got a few minutes left. So what else you got regarding this particular site? Then we got more to get to, of course.
That's about it for this site. But before the show ends, I only have one other site I want to go over, which is Baalbek and Lebanon. But that's certainly going to take more than 5 minutes. So why don't we go ahead and we've got Axel back on the line. So why don't we talk to him until the next break?
Let's actually go to Kelly, because Kelly's been waiting quite a bit longer than Axel. Let's go to Kelly in Colorado. Okay. You're on Troubled Minds, my friend. We got a few minutes left. If you got more than that, we can keep you over after we get off the radio. Go right ahead, sir. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Gigi, and Axel's here as well. What's up, Kelly? How are you, my man?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Chilling, man. Doing the thing. What do you know about this stuff? I know you know a thing or two about this stuff. What are your thoughts?
It's going to take a minute, so
that's fine.
For now, I'll just start off with just to not to be rude or anything, but to correct you on that first photo you had with the little girl, or the girl short end, that was Saksay Woman as well. But Puna Punku, yeah, that's those are the ones like the H blocks, and the way those things are cut, we can only say that that's advanced high technology. I agree with Gigi with some of these stuffs where like some of that. We've talked about this plenty of times about the size, the weight. Anybody can cut there's some ways that you can cut a certain rock where it will split into a square. But again, that's going to be like sandstone, like in Egypt and stuff. That some of the stuff like Jennifer was talking about. You can't really. Those are the ones you can't cut. Even though if you're talking about like Jennifer was saying something about a volcano, but still you got to understand like the temperature you're going to need to even be around that stone if they're putting it in molds or trying to even melt it. And that would be very difficult. But there's ancient stories that say that how they mold these things were actually with plants, some type of plant life. There's a guy that I follow that does a lot of stuff with, and he's from India, but he does a lot of stuff with mercury, liquid mercury, and turn it into a solid mass. And he's using plants, like certain different plants. He even shows some of the stuff he wants to keep secret, but yeah, when he's done with it, he creates these small, hard, round, look like balls. But the reason why that kind of came up too was there was a lingam that was made out of solid. It's made out of solid mercury. Well, science didn't understand how in the hell they could do that. But the thing about it is that for that, they were saying that mercury only hardens at like a negative 400 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius or something like that. But when when this first came out, this guy, the reason why I started following him is because, he was showing that you can do it with plants. So he's got a cooking base material that he uses, and he adds the mercury and creates these balls. But back to megalithic structures, yeah. Some of these things like Tiwanaku, which is in Bolivia, it's up there with the Gate of the Sun. That thing these things are cut out of one piece of, one block, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like these ancient, the ancient structures that you have in these temples and pyramids or these temples in over in India, right? These things have you seen some of those, Gigi, with some of those are pretty incredible too. I hear the music.
Hold the thought, Kelly. We're going to get right back to you. Look, we're done. So the bad news is we're done. The good news is, God willing, we got tomorrow. Don't forget, we're here with Gigi of Shift Happens. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific, you got Gigi, Shift Happens, JP, and all the amazing stuff they do. Thank you, Gigi, for being on the show tonight. I appreciate it very much.
Wait, we're done?
We're not done. We're just done on the radio. So then we'll come back. Okay. So just there you go. So we're going to be back with Kelly and Gigi. If you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for Third Hour Troubled Minds. It goes like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Don't forget to follow GG, shifthappensradio.com. You're the best, brother. Here we go. Getting off the radio. Let's see. We're done. Crap. We're over. Watch this. All right. So there we go. Easy as that. Smash, couple buttons. Done. All right. So we're going to just keep on trucking. So right back to Kelly. I got to step away for just a second. So Kelly, Gigi, take this away. I got to go get the dog out of the other room because she's at this point she starts to become super unruly. But go right ahead. You're still on Troubled Minds, Kelly, and you're here with Gigi. I'm killing the music, and let's freaking do this. We got more stuff to talk about for sure. Let's see. Let's kill it.
Right.
Kill it. There we go. Go ahead, Kelly. Sorry to interrupt you. Thank you, Gigi. Be right back. Give me like 30 seconds. Go ahead, Kelly.
All right.
So let me finish on real quick with the with some of these megalithics that and Gigi's correct. Like when these ancient people were with the Mayans and Aztecs, and then you go into the Incas, right? None of these people, or you even say that that they created any of this. They say that these things were there before they were there. They just kind of moved in, and I believe that is actually happening with all the stuff. Like if the thing you're going to talk about earlier here too is going to be a little bit later. It's going to be Baalbek, Lebanon. But with my theories on some of this, I got a couple theories on some of these where, if you go into some of this stuff, like, okay, so Stonehenge, right? I just want to start with that real quick. But Stonehenge, for me, I don't really believe that it was round like that. It was just shaped. For me, when I look at that, where you have the two erected stones and a stone on top, excuse me. But what that looks like to me is what you ever heard of called a dolmen. Now a dolmen is two. Yeah, you look at a dolmen, it's almost exactly what Stonehenge looks like. You got the two
very Stonehenge-like. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, one on top. So, and you actually, those have been found all over the world. They've been found all over, like in the United States too, and in like the Ohio Valley. They found all these things, but with them, they've also found giant bones. But again, with back in the day, the museums used to take them, destroy them all. But for me, when I look at that, that's what I think when I look at Stonehenge. They're dolems. And, what's weird, if you look at some of these ancient pictures of Stonehenge before they did all these reconstructions in the late 1800s, 1920s, 1940s, and 1960s, right? So before they started doing all that, it's weird. They look like they were digging, like excavating, or not excavating, but archaeology-wise, slowly digging down so many feet deep and then going across. But these beds that they're looking like they're, these next to these stones, I mean, they're massive. Looks like graves to me, because the way they shape them, what they're looking for, I don't know what they were looking for because, they said that they're, kind of digging down. I can understand where you can see what the stone was sitting on. Like most of the time you have, like in Egypt on the pyramid, you have those blocks before, like the casing stones, and then you had those large sandstones on top, which created the pyramid. Well, that's what they were kind of looking for, but they didn't find anything. But then they just kept digging, and it looks like they're almost, to me, when I look at some of these ancient pictures or these old pictures of it from the late 18 or early 1900s, they look like, I don't know, man. They look like I said, they look like graves that they're they were digging out. You know what I mean? So the archaeology that they were doing there was kind of interesting to me, but I don't understand why they, I agree with you too, Gigi, but it could be after a while they just wanted to make it look like a tourist trap, come over and do all this stuff because, I mean, I don't know what ley lines it actually lays on. I have to, really get into that. But for me, again, with all these ancient stuff and all these, and how they're building all these things that we can't even lift these, yes, how do they move them? We also have, I don't know if you heard this, but they're over in Tibet, they had those monks that they use horns and drums to levitate giant rocks and put them on these.
Yes.
So, and those were megaton too. But just like what Jennifer was kind of explaining, that sound levitation. Now, I don't know if magnetism, and it does too. Lightning does, like she was explaining, because it is plasma burst that, it's not really electricity, it's plasma burst, so I could see that what Jen was talking about. But for me, levitation, that could be one way they move it. It's either that or giants. It was kind of funny. I ran across a story where it was saying that Stonehenge wasn't even actually in England. It was actually moved by Ireland. It was
by giants. But yeah. What's up, guys? I'm back. I've been here for a while. Just there's no reason for me to say anything. And you're right. That's one of the theories when I was going through this, Kelly. Is I was like, okay, let's look at Stonehenge and how they say it was put together. That's one of the theories, is that Merlin actually moved these stones from elsewhere, brought them to England, brought them to this sacred spot, and then had them rebuilt by giants. Great stuff, bro.
Yeah. So, I ran across that, and it was pretty interesting, because they were saying, like you said, they moved them from, and where they moved them from was from Ireland to England, and then when they were there, they had giants erect them up. Okay, so real quick, I just want to say that when I look at all this ancient stuff and all the connection to it, and the way, also too, Gigi, I don't know if you've noticed that some of the stuff that they connect these blocks, right, is with these what they call like these eyelets, right? They cut out, it looks like an eyelet, and then they were in some cultures they were putting like these iron bars inside of it to hold it together, or they look like an eye,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, so for me, when I look at that, that tells me either one or two things, or what they call these knobs, right, or they call boss marks, right? These knobs that come sticking out, and those are actually found all over all these megalithic sites as well. So I say, if you look at it, it's either one or two things. These ancient builders, it's either they were the same builders, or they were the same builders who taught everybody else to build them. But again, if you ask the ancients, they say that they didn't build them all. So then going into it, and actually it almost creeps into what they taught, the Tartarian, the Tartarian theory, where Tartaria were, these ancient sites. But actually, when I still look at that even further, going back even into further back into time, like Baalbek, thousands and thousands of years, BC, I say that's just like the Sumerian, because if the Sumerian, or the Anunnaki, I should say, not Sumerian, but the Anunnaki, they're the whole thing, that whole story, that was a worldwide thing too. So, these ancient sites are all built almost the same way. They're, you have pyramids all the same. And it's interesting is why would these ancients all build the same, and the same like pyramids? Why there's pyramids on every continent on this planet, right? So, again, if you look at that, I kind of look at that, that's where I go further into that. That's, I'm into these ancient sites. But one thing for Baalbek, just before you go into that, I have one thing to say. Well, for me, is when I was researching a lot of the Anunnaki Sumerian type stories, right? So Baalbek, right? If you go back to the ancient, if you go into Google, you have to put in like the ancient original name for Baalbek was actually means the landing place, and those blocks that are underneath the Parthenon, that where they say the Greeks, and I don't even believe the Greeks built all those like the Parthenon and stuff like that, because some of that ancient technology, the way they were cutting some of them stones too, are megatons as well. And I don't really, I believe just like anything else, just like like these ancient, like in South America, I just like in the Middle East, same thing. These people don't know how these things were made. They just moved in and then took over after all these I believe it could be a piece, somebody from outer space, a species or something. But the Baalbek, I'll just real quick going back to that. Okay, so Baalbek is called the landing place, right? So in the ancient Sumerian text on the Anunnakis, they said that when they came here from Mars, right? Well, a group of them called the Agigi, they were, they landed in the landing spot, and then they took wives. The whole story, just like the Bible, where they took wives, or human wives, as human women as their wives. And well, they said they went to the Cedar Mountains, Now, what's interesting to me is when I was researching that Lebanon, if you look at their flag, it's a cedar tree. And lo and behold, Baalbek, Lebanon, well, it's in Lebanon. So what's interesting is that, I just kind of like add all that together. And to me, it's these ancient technologies that we can't even do today. It's virtually impossible. We can't even move those stones, melt them. We just only speculate on, what these things made of.
Appreciate it, Kelly. You're the best, man. We got to keep on trucking here. Always a pleasure. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for being patient with us to get you on the phone. And we'll get Gigi's answer, and then we'll get to Axel as well. Thank you for the call. Tell Michelle we said hi. Thank you for being you, bro. You're the best.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot. You too. Go ahead, Gigi. You want to answer or at least respond to some of that stuff? Kelly's pretty in depth with his thoughts, and so don't feel like you got to respond to all of it.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, he is so spot on with just about everything he said, and yeah, and Baalbek is in Lebanon is one of them. It's, I mean, dude, we've been talking about 50, 100, 150 ton stone blocks this whole time with all these different sites. Man, just wait till you hear how big these blocks are when we actually get to Baalbek. And yeah, that's where it gets really crazy and really astronomically impossible as to how, well, astronomically is not the right word, but just amazingly impossible it would be for us to build something like this, much less just lift the rock in the first place. But before we get to Baalbek, I know Axel's been here for quite a bit. He's been waiting very patiently. So let's.
What a kind host you are! It's almost like you've done this quite a lot. Let's go back to Axel. He was on once, so I called this the Law of Diminishing Returns. So Axel, you're on Troubled Minds. What's up, brother?
Oh, it's completely the Law of Diminishing Returns because I cannot remember what I wanted to talk about. This was like 20 minutes ago.
Even better.
But so yeah, you guys are completely accurate about that. So I'm just going to mute myself and listen in. So
wait. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on? Okay, so like I said, and this is the thing too. Axel, good friend of mine, good friend of the show. No, hold on. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. And just you waited patiently. Right. Let's put you on real quick. And this is the thing. Look, like Axel is different than me, and that's good.
We're
right?
friends.
We're friends.
You want to push me? No questions.
No. I don't mean it like that. I mean it like this is why getting people together that think differently is a good thing. So okay. So regarding, let's say, ancient technology, do you think that what do you believe regarding how they put these things together, Axel? That's my question here. So some people say the archaeoacoustics and some of this other stuff, and who knows, like the Igigi and like that whole bit, like the actual Anunnaki story and ancient aliens and all the rest of that. I mean, you can cast that out entirely, of course, in my opinion, because it's right. one thing to talk about. It's one idea.
Well,
what do you think? How did they put these together?
All right. Last week, Gigi and I had a conversation about this. I think that ancient peoples had a way to do it. And if you really press me, I could probably maybe guess how they did it. But come on. It's not like our ancestors were dum-dums. Like, they can put together a monument. They can put up some big stones. They can make some pyramids. Come on, guys. Believe in our ancestors.
Yeah, I think they knew how to do it too. I just think the techniques that they used have been lost throughout history, and we just forgot humanity has forgotten the old ways of technology that they used to build these things.
I agree with you. 100%. I do think we have lost those technologies. It's just that I don't think that they involve technologies in the big sense we don't understand. I think they just probably have to do with weight and balance and ropes and grades. And I don't think it has to do with like sonic powers or psychic abilities. But I agree. We don't know exactly how they did it, but I'm sure we can figure it out if we really put our minds to it.
Amen. Hey, look at that.
Well,
hey, look at Axel. Look at Axel roping in the troubled minds. You're the best, bro. You're the best. Do the thing. Cheers to you, my friend. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging in. You're welcome to stay right there, as you know.
Yeah. I'll mute myself right now.
And,
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I hope you stick around for the Baalbek part, because we got some good photos to share.
All right, so we're doing Baalbek now. So
I will still be hanging in, but I'm going to mute myself and just listen.
Perfect. Thank you, Axel. This is the thing, right? We're still doing this. We're talking about these megalithic sites. I'm calling them Neolithic ritual magic. And again, because I think there's probably more than one way to look at this, and that's why I think we should talk about these things. As always, right? And again, if you're new here, you're like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? And it is the third hour, so we can fuck all we want, if you know what I mean. Just drop the F-bombs. It's fine. And this is the thing. What do you believe? That's the question, right? Because I think it's more fascinating to not like hear my belief on what this stuff is. It's like more fascinating to hear people come together and talk about what they believe regarding these things, or not even, let's say, necessarily belief. I think, you know what, GG, more and more, I'm coming to the terms of, I think the word belief is a bad word to me anymore. Like people are just so locked into, let's say just fights and BS and just, right, like wanting to like crap on each other about everything. I think belief to me is a bad word, and it could be belief in science, in a. And I don't mean like I'm a scientific idiot. I just mean like in terms of like using science as a religion, or using religion as a religion, right? Like anything as a religion to me becomes problematic, right? Because we end up it's always like the opposition structure of like fighting with each other. We don't have to get into that. That's a whole other conversation. But I think it's more fascinating just to hear what people think. And Axel has some good points. Go right ahead. Let's get into Baalbek and Malbec. What was it called? I don't even know what these fucking places are called. And that's the thing, right? This is the best part. I have no fucking idea what you're talking about. but go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, so I just uploaded 3 new pictures.
All right.
To the show chat. These are all of Baalbek, which is in Lebanon. And this to me is the most what the fuck structures in the world. And you'll see why once I explain them.
All right, I'm putting the first one up, so go ahead and start with that. I'll put it up momentarily. It'll be up within a couple seconds.
All right, so the first photo you're about to see, thankfully they've actually highlighted the actual the obelisk of stone that was there. So there it is. You guys can see it now on YouTube. And to give it scale, there's a tiny little, maybe even a kid or a person, just circled at the bottom. And I'm not sure what that is at the bottom, but that obelisk there. So we've been talking about 50 tons, 100 tons, 150 tons, right? Well, guess what? This block that you're looking at right here, that's highlighted in that picture, is 1,600 tons. And so now if you go down to the second picture, which shows a different angle of that, you'll see they actually do the measurements for you.
Going up momentarily because I've got 6 arms. Go right ahead. It's up right now. Do it.
Right. So now you're looking at if you're looking at the second picture, you are now looking at the same sideways block, and as you can see, if you click and zoom in, that was lifted 7 meters, which is roughly about what, like 19, 20, 21 feet, lifted up into the air. 1,600 tons. To put that into perspective, that's about 1,100 Toyota Corollas lifted up 20 feet. And you're trying to tell me that they did that with ropes and chisels and shit? Fuck you.
That's the third hour spirit. Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. I mean, seriously, how the fuck are they doing that? And I don't think anybody knows. But the only common factor is well, let's go ahead and move to the third picture.
Going up. Keep talking. It's going up momentarily.
Yeah. So when you look at the third picture, you're going to see this is another block that was carved out of the quarry, but there was a crack in it, so that whoever the builders were decided not to move it, so they left it in the quarry. But it's the exact same size as the one that you see in the first two pictures. It's the same exact model of the same block. And you see how small that guy is in comparison to that giant block. Again, 1,100 cars worth of weight on that thing. And you're telling me you're lifting that up with rope and wood? Go fuck yourself. There's no fucking way. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so crude. But there's no way. There's just no way. And so they obviously had and then of course, this is another one of those sites that's on the intersection of magnetic ley lines. So and this is there's also tales of the sound floating the rocks is also part of the mythology over here in Lebanon and Baalbek. And so it just makes you wonder, like, the only explanation we have in history for how these things got moved is some sort of sound frequency. And we quite literally, even with modern machinery, maybe, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure we couldn't get that shit up there. Not in one piece. We would do it in separate pieces and then just put them together is what we would do today. But these people were lifting these whole blocks up in one go, up 7 meters, which is about 19, 20, 21 feet up in the air, and not only just lifting them, but placing them perfectly along the lines of the other rocks, where once again you can't even fit a piece of paper in between the cracks. Absolutely perfectly done. And this was done thousands of years ago.
All right.
And
so Gigi, if you're given like your super woo take again, like there's a lot of people that believe that this was like some of this technology was brought about to the earth by ancient aliens and the rest of this stuff. And I don't know if I believe that myself, but like I said, it doesn't matter what the fuck I believe. It's not about that. It's about having a conversation here. So don't be turned off by that. Like, what do you believe regarding this? Let's say, what's your most like couple takes here? Your most like cold water take regarding this, and your most like WTF, what actually happened here, and this could be insane. Well, if you got to kind of give it like that sort of juxtaposition of ideas, which let's start with the cold water take.
I don't even think I could do two separate. I think I only have one take, and I don't think we need aliens to explain this. I think that's kind of ridiculous. Maybe, sure, maybe, but honestly, I don't think we need aliens to explain this. I think that humanity, the lineage of humanity is cyclical. I don't think we just, like I said, this isn't the first time that humanity came to a technological point. I think a lot of these ancient cultures are pretty correct with this whole 26. Even what's his name was talking earlier about the 26,300 year cycle of
The long cycle, the Baktuns of the Mayans and all the rest of that. Like, like the interestingly, the Great Reset of Mother Earth. It seems to be a thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and every time it resets, humanity resets. I mean, think about it. If we had a big solar flare right now, or a big asteroid hit the Earth, bam, and everything was blown out, and let's say it was you and me and Joe trapped on an island. We're the only ones that survived, right? We know how to use computers. We know how to use cameras. We know how to use telescopes. But do we know how to build them? No. We don't know how to do dick.
No, hell no.
So we're starting over from scratch. We're going to be hunting animals, and within a couple of generations, all of that technology is going to be long lost. And I think that cycle has happened multiple times. And I think that the last round of technological humans had figured out, hey, shit's about to go down. Let's leave a message for the future. And I think that's what you're seeing in some of these places. But that's only part of it, though. I think the other part of it is, I think, like we were talking about last night, Carmen Bolter's documentary, The Pyramid Code, which was on Netflix. I'm not sure where you can watch it now. But I think some of these megalithic structures were also used to essentially as power plants. They were used as power plants. And also, I guess what we would, the closest thing you could relate to it is a GPS system, that in all these pyramids throughout the world, all interconnected. They're all built very similarly, and they're all built on, and whether it's pyramids or Lebanon or what have you, or Puma Punku, they're all built on intersections of magnetic ley lines. There has to be something to that. What that something is, I'm not sure, but I guarantee you it's no coincidence that all of these ancient sites, these megalithic structures, are built on the intersections of magnetic ley lines.
Yeah, pretty wild too. That so what Jennifer was saying is that, the magnetic field of the Earth and the rest of this stuff, and I'm going to paraphrase this poorly, but like let's say 10 or 20 or 30,000 years ago, like the conditions on the Earth were different. Because again, we're talking about long cycles. We're talking about, like the 24,000 years, like you said, whatever the hell this is, the Baktun. Again, I always like to go back to that. They say that the Mayans had the most specific, accurate calendar in these super long counts of like perfect synchronization of the long count, just whatever this is. And so if they did that in terms of maybe the Earth's magnetic field or God knows what, because like we're in this cosmic cycle of, shit, like it could be a 1,000,000-year cycle. You know what I mean? Like they're just like sort of subdividing it, and they're like, well, we got it like in human terms to 20 some or other thousand years, right? And that's right. That's the cycle. But shit, like we're us knuckleheads here on Earth, we're like in America anyway, we're talking about election cycles. You know what I mean? Like we're so fucking dumb. So in that, I think that's part of the problem here is like, hey, look, and this is why I always say this on the show, and why I think these conversations are probably greater than ourselves in terms of, I don't mean it in terms of like, we're ascending to godhood or anything like that, but I mean in terms of like, greater than the parts of the individuals that kind of come together, because these conversations they take so many different facets of ideas and kind of boil them into one conversation, which you just don't get anywhere. It's incredible. It's amazing. And so I don't know, man. We got, like I said, we got time. Nobody tells us when to stop, Gigi, and I want to be respectful of your time. So you tell me, man, what else you got regarding this, regarding what I just said? If you got a dip, I completely understand. Or if you want to truck on into the night, I got plenty of beer. So you tell me. Yeah, you tell me.
I've got plenty of beer too. That did conclude all of the main points I wanted to make tonight and share with your audience. But I'm also down to still hang out and talk about the possibilities and take some more calls and get on with the boogie.
There you go. Get on with the boogie. Hey, look, we're here with Gigi of Shift Happens Radio. By the way, wow, so Troubled Minds goes Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 7 to 9 exactly. Gigi has a show called Shift Happens that goes 7 to 9 on Friday. Him and JP, if you guys don't know JP, he's an amazing dude as well. They do a thing. It's called Shift Happens. Look, if you're like, Troubled Minds let down on Friday, no, go listen to Shift Happens at 7 p.m. Pacific on Friday and go see the amazing shit they're doing. Speaking of which, you got a thing tomorrow? You want to plug and tease what's happening tomorrow on Shift Happens?
Yeah, so we've actually got Mike Barra from Ancient Aliens coming on the show tomorrow, and highly requested guest, and it's been a while since we've had him on, and we're going to have a very fun show tomorrow. I know a lot of people love him. I know a lot of people hate him. But you know what? I love him. So we're going to do that tomorrow. And then the following week, we're going to have Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Mr. Doc Ram. And then the week after that, Billy Carson. We've got a few weeks of good shows.
Billy Carson? Holy shit. All right. Okay. All right. So look, Gigi said it. Do the thing. Book it on your calendar. Look, if you're like I said, the Troubled Minds letdown. There's no letdown. There's Gigi and Shift Happens with JP on Fridays at the exact same time slot. Listen to that. Look, because guess what I'm doing? I'm listening to that too. So hey, don't leave me hanging. Don't leave me there listening to that without you guys. Okay. So here's the thing. Gigi is being gracious with his time and being like, fuck it. Let's take some calls. What are your thoughts on this Stonehenge and beyond? How did this megalithic stuff get put together? Again, number one, how did they do it? Number two, why did they do it? Number three, what do you think the legacy is from the ancient peoples that did it to us? What do they want us to expect or know about the way they did these things? Is it a secret? Is it an intentional secret? Is it as somebody suggested in the chat earlier, is it some sort of cosmic troll? like what the fuck is going on here? Taking your calls. If you look, we got time for you. You got time for us. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link, troubledminds.org. You can hop in the Discord as well. And let's go back to Matt in Colorado. You're on Troubled Minds, my friend. Go right ahead.
Yeah, hey guys. Great show tonight, great calls, a fascinating subject. I just have to say, now that we're in the third hour, about these megalithic structures, whoever tries to explain them as, guys with ropes and a lot of slave power is just fucked in the head. No.
I agree.
Wait. Hold on. Come on. Let's stop with the division. Let's say that they're just very different from yourself. And can we roll with that? Let's not make enemies here. Let's make friends. Come on now.
Okay. Well, I'll just say I find that very difficult to imagine that this was done with muscle power and stuff like that. So what that means is we have some very incredible structures, buildings, and the Pumapunko and the other ones that however you pronounce it that you were showing, these display, generally speaking, some kind of advanced technology that I don't think that we can replicate today. And I do think that one, there was maybe some aspect of using some combination between sound vibrational frequency, magnetic, reversing the magnetics like Jennifer was talking about, that sort of technology. I also think that the way when you look at how these stones are put into place, it really makes you think, wonder, imagine that they were sort of rough cut and then they were turned somewhat molten. And Jennifer was touching on that, like with the basalt and the volcano and the heating. And it looks like they took them, somehow put them into place, and changed them to be into a basically molten state. And that's what made them fit together. And, that's true of the Great Pyramid, too. They've gone up to the Great Pyramid, these huge blocks, and they take a playing card from a deck of playing cards, and it will go in between there. And there's no mortar in there. There's no cement. There's no glue. And you can't fit a playing card in there. And they've done the math on, if they had 5,000 slaves moving these rocks continuously, it would take like 25 years to build the Great Pyramid. So I think these were done by means, technology that we can't explain, we don't know about, we can't replicate, and it's a great mystery. And I've always been fascinated by them. And I think that, generally speaking, we can go with Giorgio and say, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens.
But it's hold on, I got you. Well, we got this. Hold on, just one moment, so everybody's locked into the joke here. I got your thing right here. Let's see. Oh shit, I don't. I'm sorry. I thought I had the ancient astronaut theorists say yes. I'm gonna have to just emulate it. But okay, sorry. Go ahead. But yeah, totally right.
Right, and so that's one. And I think there's some possibilities there, because you can go with the Anunnaki, you can go with the ancient Egyptians being revered as gods. You can look at the size of their statues. You can think about other life forms, genetic engineering, extraterrestrials, ancient aliens, and that may be an explanation for the technology that was behind that. The other general theory, more like what Gigi was saying, is that these were basically humans that were an advanced civilization, perhaps even more advanced than us, that existed long ago. Some happened to them, and then we basically went through the Dark Ages, and civilization collapsed, technology advanced, collapsed, and we had to reinvent things. And I also agree with that, and I think that's actually probably happened multiple times. So it's not just the one before us that did these, that there was probably, go back another 200,000 years, there was probably an ancient civilization before them. And go back another 500,000 years, there might have been one before them. So you could have the rise and fall of civilizations happening multiple times. And
I think so.
These two ideas actually don't have to be mutually exclusive. It's not necessarily a binary, because you could have different races within the Earth, different levels of humanity, different civilizations, extraterrestrials. Who the hell knows? It could be a combination of those things.
There's a thing, real quick, I want you to respond to that, Gigi, but also real quick, there's a thing called the Silurian hypothesis, which actually says that if there were these ancient civilizations and these gigantically long cycles of, as they come back into, let's say, fruition and technological dominance, and then we have these, again, let's say in 24,000 years or whatever is small. Let's say these long cycles are 1 million years, that for us to actually be able to archaeologically determine it was true would be almost impossible, because again, we're talking about these huge time frames. We're talking about a technology that would rot and corrode and turn into dust, just like everything else. So I don't know. If you guys don't know what that is, a Silurian hypothesis, Silurian hypothesis. And I don't know, does it track? Does it not? How's that stick with you? I happen to believe personally, and I know you guys don't care about that, because I don't care about that. Personally, I believe that the Silurian hypothesis could be true. And who knows? Who knows how far back our, let's say, human ingenuity goes? Because... we've got, as I always say, archaeologically speaking, in the anthropology field, we have this weird let's say dearth of evidence, right? Dearth of actual, like, well, here's what we got, and you know why? Because finding shit in the dirt is well, let's just say it. It's not really the best way to figure these things out. It's the best way we have, but it's not the best way, right? I mean, give me a fucking time machine. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, go ahead, Gigi. If you got anything on that.
Yeah. Well, I think just one of the most obvious things when it comes to, the progression of human technology not being linear, but actually being cyclical in nature is Göbekli Tepe. That's one place. That's one thing we probably should have talked about earlier that we didn't. So Göbekli Tepe, that dates back to 12,000 years ago, before the Ice Age. But wait a minute. That's not when the site was built. That's when the site was, if you guys don't know, they have discovered that Göbekli Tepe was intentionally buried in sand. So 12,000 years ago, that's just when it was buried to be preserved. Who knows how long that site was there before it was buried? That shit could have been there 10 or 15,000 years before that, if not longer or shorter, but if not longer. And, we're not supposed to have, any sort of, because I mean, listen, when you're building, that means you have, scientists, you have mathematicians, you have, which probably means you have an economy, you've got some currency going on, especially if you look into some of Michael Cramo's work. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Michael Cramo, but he wrote that book, Forbidden Archaeology, back in, the early 90s. And they found all sorts of crazy fucking findings that show that humanity has been around for tens of thousands of years. Not just been around, but there was one discovery where I think it was in Ohio, I want to say, where there was a coal mine down there, and they found they found a coin. It had a humanoid figure on the front, and it had some sort of what we could only describe as hieroglyphic language on the back. And that shit was buried underneath a layer of rock that was about 800,000 years old, that was undisturbed. So that would lead you to suggest that, not only were humans around back then, but they had currency. If they had currency, they had an economy. If they had an economy, they had a society. If they had a society, it goes on and on and on. And I think, again, just repeating the idea that I think it's quite possible that, because we're taught that, our whole lineage is linear, right? We started off with single-celled organisms, and then we became amphibious, and then they got onto the land, and then they became mammals, and then this and that, and then dinosaurs and all that, and it's all a straight line. But there is enough evidence out there to at least make you question whether maybe humans have been here for a fuckload of a longer time, and it's more of a cyclical thing. And I tend to subscribe to that sort of thing. I've interviewed Michael a couple of times, several times actually.
This fucking guy, this guy right here,
Michael Cramo.
Okay, I was gonna say,
yeah,
you can't just drop the Michael and expect everybody on the Michael show to be like, "What are you talking about, bro?" I'm like,
yeah, I probably should have.
You ain't interviewed some shit out of. Nah, come on, man. No, and I also thought Mike Barra maybe because you got him on the show tomorrow. But yeah, anyway, yeah, go ahead. So okay, who is this guy you interviewed? And continue, please.
Oh, you don't know who Michael Cremo is?
I don't know who any of these fucking people are. Hey, I've been living. Look, I've been living in my own fucking bubble here, and like the amazing people that have sort of accumulated as a happy accident is who I know. Like in many cases, I pay attention to like what happens outside of like the troubled mind sphere of things. But also, by the way, I kind of don't give a shit about all that other stuff too, because right there's a lot of those guys that are like, yeah, I heard of that guy. He's probably a dick. But like I don't get a ton of hate, but it's like I'm sort of in the periphery of that UFO circle, right? I'm not really into that. Meaning that here's why. Let me explain to you, Gigi. We're becoming good friends. You hang out with us often on the thing, and this is on Discord. troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, come hang out with these amazing people, including Gigi. He chills with us like many nights of the week, late into the night. We stayed up so late the other night, as a matter of fact. Gigi was waking up, and he's like, wow, you guys are still up. He popped in. He's like, what's up, guys? Do the thing. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Come say hi. Come. Many of the people you hear on this show are active in that Discord, and we're talking about shit all the time, right? And I mean that in a good way. But the thing is, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead. I had a point, but it'll come back to me in a sec.
Man, I know you don't usually have like guests on the show, but man, I would love to get Michael Cremo on your show and just let you two guys talk. I think that would make for an excellent episode.
Okay, and so who the fuck is that guy? Please explain. I don't know who the dude is.
He's the guy that wrote the Forbidden Archaeology, which was a huge, his whole point is he spent 10 years looking through every major country's archaeological records and found all these archaeological discoveries that were swept under the rug, that proved that, oh, my alarm's going off. Let me dismiss that.
Now you've done it. Now you've done it. What's the alarm for? Well, come on. You guys fess up now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Why would I have an alarm set for 11:47 p.m.?
You tell me. You tell me. Hey, you know why I set one for 11:47 is when I go to bed at for a quick nap at 9:15. That's why I would set that way. That's why I was curious. If it's none of my business, that's cool. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Michael Cremo and he had a co-author. I can't quite remember his name, but they found all of these archaeological discoveries that were swept under the rug, mostly by the Smithsonian Institute, and that show that modern humans, and by modern I mean, like I said, people with currency, people with tools, and not just crude tools, like actual real like hammers and screwdrivers and stuff, going all the way back hundreds of thousands of years before, because modern academia will tell you, modern humans have only been around. At first they said 200,000 years. I think they've kind of pushed it back to about 300,000 years now. But they found all these discoveries that show very clearly, there's been modern humans going back up to not only 800,000 years ago, which is a huge difference in itself, but there's a couple of discoveries that go back a couple of million years. The artifacts that they found underneath layers of undisturbed rock that go back about 1.2 million years ago. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting because it also coincides with the the Bhagavad Gita and the ancient Indian texts, who also describe the same thing and the same timeline. And they've actually found evidence to support that actual timeline from the ancient Bhagavad Gita. And just extremely interesting. I guess really the point is that, like I said, I think the progression of humanity as far as technology goes has not always just been linear. It's actually been more of a cyclical process where we start from scratch, we build up, we get to a certain point, we blow each other up, or something happens, a comet hits the earth or something, we start over, and then we start over again, and then we build up, and we get to another technological point, then something happens, and then we start over. And there's quite a bit of evidence that that's happened multiple times. And that's kind of Michael Cramo's whole point.
Okay, so it is basically the Silurian hypothesis is what he's talking about, and what he was into that. And you know what? Honestly, and like I said, never ever take what I say as any sort of gospel. Do your own research. Like talk to other people. Like find your own peace. Right? My reality is mine. Yours is yours. Let's get together and talk about it. And I always say this: just because I say it doesn't mean somebody out there should be like, Mike said it. Get it? No. Stop. Right? In this moment today, I may say, sure, fine. Tomorrow I might change my mind. So don't ever like relinquish the ability to change your mind based on anything, right? Like we're always learning, we're always growing, we're always changing, we're always like coming into contact with new people, learning new things, all the rest of that. So just as you guys know, I say this often, and I mean it. I am not a demagogue, and don't make it that way, okay? Like, you think for yourself. We just come here to discuss these things. We got some phone calls to get to, Gigi. You got some more time for us, my friend?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah. I have no idea who this is. It looks like it's a first-time caller, so if you're a troll, I'm going to get you. Welcome to Troubled Minds. You're on with Mike and Gigi. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Dino. Is this Mike?
Dino, what's up? I know you, Dino. Yeah, this is Mike. How are you, my friend? Go right ahead. You're on Troubled Minds. What's up? What's up? Hey, go ahead, man. What do you think about all this stuff we're talking about?
So pretty much, I was calling in because a woman that was on like a little while ago, probably like an hour ago, she made a great statement on how these Stonehenges and these blocks could be moved. And she is kind of correct in some ways. Like, if our magnetism of this planet was way different back in the days, and you got to think what would interrupt it. So a long time ago, they said that we smacked into the moon as well as we smacked into Venus. Now, they got a lot of like scientists and scholars to this day to argue to differ. If a planet got close enough to us, there'll be like an equilibrium, like the gravity's interrupted. You know what I'm saying? Like things will float, kind of. You know what I'm saying? There's like an in between right there. So like the moon, even the size of the moon, something that small. If it was closer to us, I can literally walk up to a car and kind of just pick it up, or I can just jump heights, people can't jump. Now, if the moon moves further away, they said, it would be impossible for you to jump. The gravity of this planet is pulling on us so hard. So I'm just saying what my opinion, not to say, like a long time ago when Venus was close enough or the moon was close enough, people were allowed to do extraordinary things like, pick up a block, like big blocks and stuff. So I figured I'd just call in to say that one more thing. Even the planet Naboo, they say that it slingshots in our solar system, fires around our sun, and shoots back into the other solar system. So back in the days, it was mentioned in the stones, man writing in the stones talking about that back in that days, that planet was so close that it was easy for them to transfer to our planet, and things on this planet were light. Like it interrupted our gravity. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think it tracks with what we're talking about here. Gigi, any take on that while we got Dino on the phone here?
Yeah, no, I thought you were a different Dino. But
hey,
I didn't know
there's so many Dinos out there.
I used to listen a year ago. It's like a year ago, I used to call in once and every now and then and attend my job, and everything changed. And I wanted to throw one more thing on the table too, because she was right about the atmosphere of our magnetism of this planet. Because if science is correct, and our solar system and our galaxy and the universe has been expanding for millions of years. I mean, walking this Earth like a million years ago, wouldn't that be crazy? Because everything is compacted. Our planets, our moons are together. Hello?
We're here.
Yeah.
Gigi,
okay.
Gigi.
I thought I lost you.
No, we're good. We're good.
Back then, I mean, gravity must have been pretty wild on this planet, like thinking about things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't get Gigi to answer you the first time. Go ahead, Gigi, for Dino, because I made the joke about so many Dinos out there. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Gravity could have been, if some of these guys like Michael Cramo and whatnot are correct in their theories, that humans have been here for much, much longer than we've ever thought possible. The gravity situation here could have been different, which could have lent credence to building some of these structures a little bit easier than it would be today in today's gravity. That's something I never really considered until just now. So I'm not even sure if that's what you meant, but that's that's what just came to my mind from what you said. Yeah.
There's a movie out there. It's a love novel, and it kind of gave a kind of picture of what it would be like, because there was a planet about to smack into another planet. Now, this takes a long time. It doesn't happen right away, but it got just close enough with us to where both worlds, there was an equilibrium where you just floated, and there was no gravity. And then you can fall to that planet or fall back to this planet. So it just made me think, even as well as Venus, because Venus used to be seriously close to us. And just to think about, the argument of gravity being interrupted at that great Goldilocks of two planets being put together can really explain a lot of things that happened in our ancient civilizations. That's what I think. And when that woman was talking, I'm kind of a astrophotographer. I like taking pictures of the planets, and I looked into it. And when she was talking, I was like, she was connecting lines, but she never brought up, planets being close enough to our Earth or even the moon, because I do know that moon really interrupts our magnetism. And if it was closer, I would say like real close, because they said that the moon smacked into us at one point. So if you're thinking ancient civilizations, they're seeing this big moon really up close, next to us, and gravity is interrupted, and you can do whatever you want pretty much. But yeah.
That was Jennifer, and given enough time, she'd have got there. She's in tune with a lot of that stuff. Dino, you're amazing. Hey, where do you listen to us typically? Is it YouTube? Is it somewhere else? Do you listen to us on the Fringe? What's going on, man? How'd you find this show?
I got you through YouTube, and a while back, a guy I used to play video games with named Phantom told me about your show, and he's like, man, you just gotta listen to it, because when I play online like video games for like 2 or 3 hours, my conversation just goes to ancient civilization and history and everything in the making, and I can just go on. And then when I listen to your show, I was like, it was hard to try to even get a call in, because I was like, man, I'm going to be stuttering, saying weird things. I'm not going to remember names, but my first call with you was pretty cool, and I was like, oh, man. And then I just continue listening.
Right on. Hey, Dino, you're welcome back anytime. I do remember you. It's been a while since you called. That's why I didn't know who you were at first. Amazing stuff as always. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. Always a pleasure. Have a fantastic night, okay?
You too, Mike, and Troubled Minds. Have a good one.
Thanks a lot. You too. There you go. Dino in Florida. Hey, is that a different Dino? Where's the Dino you know, Gigi? This guy's in Florida.
Oh, the Dino I know is off-grid out there in California. Off-grid as fuck. Yeah.
That tracks. That totally tracks. You're like, bro, how'd you find us?
I was so surprised at first. I was like, oh my God, Dino? But no, different Dino.
Different Dino. All right, we're still talking about this. Look, we got more calls. Tam Bam in South Africa. You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead. I'm gonna step away, grab myself some more maybe juice. You're on with Mike and Gigi. We're talking about these megalithic structures. What the fuck is going on? Gigi, meet Tambam. Be right back. Go right ahead, Tambam.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Terrible. Just awful.
Fantastic here. Go right ahead, Tambam. Tambam's got some amazing ideas and a huge TikTok channel. One day I'll be able to say I knew Tambam before she was famous. Go ahead, Tambam.
Okay. I'll have to catch on to that. Okay. Yeah, what's up, Tambam?
Boys. Okay, so I'm a little bit nervous about presenting this theory because it's different. I don't think anyone's actually talked about it unless I've missed something. But has anyone thought about the age of giants?
The age of giants.
So the age of giants was part of our history that was completely deleted.
Yeah, I do believe that there were there's actually quite a bit of archaeological evidence that has been swept under the rug. Again, pulling up Michael Cremo, that there were vastly more massive human beings in times past, and it's been pretty well documented, actually.
But there's new, I say evidence, but I say it very lightly. There's new evidence that's been brought up to suggest that even Moses and Adam and the biblical people were bigger than humans are today. They were considered what we would call giants, but they were human. So if that is the case, and in biblical times, even Moses and the biblical people called another race a giant race, how big were these people? How big was that race? I mean, they must have been absolutely colossal, to the point, which brings me now to the stones, that they could have had some input and into the structures. I'm not saying it's fact, it's not fact, because actually science is not an absolute fact. The absolute fact is that I have to blink and then I have to breathe. That is an absolute fact. So this is a science theory. If you take, for example, if you take a chisel and a hammer and you hit it hard enough on a stone, it will crack in half. And it would be most times, it would be a dead straight line. Now why wouldn't that be so far-fetched to think that a giant race could do the same with Obelix? If there were giant race, as in, I'm not talking about 9 or 10 feet tall, I'm talking about 15, 20 feet tall, could hit a rock hard enough that it would absolutely cut directly in half. And it would be an absolute straight line.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, the only actual evidence I've seen is people more like 8 to 10 feet tall. But who's to say? You know, there very well could have been. And plus, I mean, there's not just in Christianity, but all kinds of religions around the world talk about actual giants that used to exist. And, and it's, I don't know, I always kind of like to say, if so many different cultures are talking about the same thing, surely they're not talking about nothing at all. They must be talking about something, right?
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
So that could be the case.
I like the Age of Giants. Yeah. I like that. So we can go back to Tartarus. We can go back to the Titans. We can go back to like all kinds of that type of stuff and be like, but it fits into these long cycles, right? Like, who knows? Like, okay, think about this. Like, you want to go like super technologically like transhumanist from like this point forward and say that we're like racing toward a cataclysm that maybe made sense 2 million years ago. Check this out. Let's say, we were just talking about a couple nights ago this idea of bear serum, right? Because these bears hibernate and they're able to keep their muscle mass over like 5 to 7 months of hibernation. But like if a person sat on a couch for 5 to 7 months, they would like turn into like
mush,
flabby mess. Exactly. And so it's not necessarily. It's basically what we're locked into physiologically speaking. All right. So what if, right, we're like, okay, so we're going to take this bear serum, we're going to just inject it into every MFer out there because it's like everybody wants it. It becomes like available and cheap to everybody. Everybody becomes like monsters. You work out for like 6 months and then forever you just bear serum and you're like the fucking Incredible Hulk, right? And then let's say they get the next thing and we become giants, right? Who the fuck knows? And let's say, well, I don't know, a sunspot happens, a solar flare, and boom, and like wrecks it all back to the fucking Stone Age. You know, we got Stonehenge and beyond, right? I mean, you know what I mean? Like in those terms, does that make sense? I think it kind of does in the long cycle, right?
In a long cycle, 100%. Because let's talk about it. I mean, 100 years ago, let's say 1,000 years ago, as Jen and the previous Dino was saying that the Earth, in every sense, was not the same. Magnetically, atmospherically, geographically, it was not the same. Because of, obviously, dust, wind, or whatever the Earth weather, including space dust. We are bombarded constantly with space dust hitting the Earth, right? And it's like a burial, if you think about it. And talking about that, humans have a tendency to freaking bury everything. Okay, we just bury shit. That's what we do. We can't throw it up in the air, so we bury it. Who knows what's down there? Okay, so if we even look at 1,000 years ago, like I said, everything was pretty much different. That's just 1,000 years ago. What about 1,000,000 years ago? How different was everything on Earth? Unless we are physically there, everything that we're talking about today is 100% absolute hearsay. I'm sorry, but I even believe carbon dating is hearsay. We don't have a baseline, a real baseline, because we were never there.
Yeah. Well, carbon dating is a little fucked because it's first of all, carbon dating is assuming that the sun's radiation has been consistent for all of these thousands of years that we're trying to date things back, which we used to think that the sun was the most stable thing in the universe. But as of the late 90s, early 2000s, all of a sudden they discovered the sun is the most unstable thing that we know of in the universe. So the sun's radioactive projections could highly misguide any sort of carbon dating situation. And typically what happens is, let's say, just give any example. Let's say they're carbon dating something. Typically what happens is they get a whole range. They'll get a range from like 20,000 to 80,000 years. And what they tend to do is they try to stick to the academic timeline, and they just pick whichever number is closest to what we're supposed to be taught in schools. But that doesn't mean that it's correct. That just means they're just trying to form the timeline, you know. And carbon dating is very notably flawed at best.
Absolutely. And they also, talking about that, when they do carbon dating and they estimate carbon dating, they're talking about the atmosphere that we're currently living in. I mean, they're not talking about how different the atmosphere was 10, 20, a million years ago.
Exactly.
Exactly. So it's really just all scientific hearsay. And it's not absolute truth. I have a big problem with science.
I think probably all of us, many of us, let's say most of us here in this space would agree that in those terms, there is no absolute truth. and that's why we talk about these things. It's like, hey, wait, like, sure, fine, the textbook says this, but let's be honest with ourselves and be like, look, let's say you're elevated to the leader of education for the whole world, and you have to put something in a fucking textbook, right? You have to put something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to put like fairies and giants and ogres. You're not going to do that. You're not doing it. You know what I mean? So, like, to be fair, right? Us as younger people learning the ropes, the basics of like being humans and history and this stuff, it's a thing. It's going to be a thing, right? But you wouldn't expect to teach 12-year-olds about fairies and ogres and giants, right? But also, by the way, let's say 2 million years ago, they may have been a thing. You know what I mean? Like, who the fuck knows? And so that's the thing. And that's why I always like to do it in this format, to talk to Tam Bam knows, she's been with us for so long, a good friend of mine for so long. Like, the whole point of this is getting together and just being like, hey, what about the things we don't know? And let's talk about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, you would not put in a textbook some whack shit like this. Like, the stuff we talk about on a nightly basis on the show does not belong in a textbook. It just doesn't. Right? To be fair, it does not. It does not.
Okay, to be fair, sure. Okay, but the irony is that I'm actually educating my son on lost history.
No, but that's the thing. You're opening his mind to the possibilities of the things. No, and that's good. That's good.
Yeah, well, he wants to become an archaeologist and a cryptozoologist because his mind has been blown wide open with things that are not school. The real history.
Of whatever that means, right?
Whatever that means. It's his journey.
Yeah. 100%.
But yeah, my point is, like, there's a theory of the age of giants, and who knew? Who knows? Maybe they had a big part to play in the pyramids and all those things. You don't know. They also found ancient hieroglyphics in Australia. They found hieroglyphics in Australia. So it wasn't just in Egypt. I mean, who knows? They could have had a Stargate that let them travel all around the planet.
They also found Egyptian hieroglyphs and artifacts in the Grand Canyon in North America, which is completely blocked off and sealed, and nobody's allowed to go in there right now.
Exactly. And there's an entrance to the theory of Hollow Earth in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole nother can of worms we could.
That is my jam.
Possibly go into.
Hey, and these conversations, the crazy thing is, like, what's up? Shout out to Derek the Nice Stalker. He's still out there listening. He's all, it's Titan time. Kinda, right? Yeah. But the thing is this, like, these conversations kind of flow into from the last show to the next show, because, like, we inspire each other, and like the next thing becomes the next thing becomes the next thing. And welcome to it, Gigi. Hey, Gigi, tell me you had a good time tonight. What the fuck, bro? Isn't this amazing?
Dude, this was so much fun. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love
we know.
We already
know. Yeah. We're here every night.
We're here every night. Tam Bam, let's wrap this up. You got what's your final thought here? Yeah. We'll go back to Gigi. Let's wrap this MFR up. We've been at this for a long time.
Yeah, my final thought is, really, you have to, if you're in this group, science is hearsay. The absolute truth is you have to blink, you have to breathe, you have to walk, whatever. That is the absolute truth. And that has been attested from the beginning of man. That's the only absolute truth.
There you go. And everything else, the jury is out. Or the jury is still in. Still in? The jury, I don't know. What's the term? I used to think the jury is out means that, and whatever. I'm a knucklehead. Okay, so.
Jury is out.
Whatever it is that, and I say this a lot, and this is the thing, like I said, please, this conversation is only a conversation. And we're getting multiple viewpoints on similar topics, and please don't go, like, create some cult based on what we're talking about. Just open your mind just not so much that your brains fall out. And let's talk. That's it. That's it. You know what I mean? Like let's not do the thing and get to the thing and talk about QAnon and all that. Let's not do that shit. Like, stop. But right?
Yeah, I've missed this, man. I've missed being online, like talking.
Welcome back.
It's been so long.
Welcome back. Tam Bam has some power outages and some shit going on, some shenanigans down there. Yeah, hey, you're the best. You're the best. Tam Bam, by the way, good friend of mine, good friend of the show, good friend of so many people here, including now Gigi. Link in the description. By the way, Tam Bam, you need to fix your link because the shit has like 5 of the same link. She used to have a link tree.
Yeah, but it's different parts of the world.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right. Link in the description down below. Tam Bam has a big TikTok channel. She's an influencer talking about, well, the fountain of youth. Tam Bam, you're the best.
I'm a freaking genius of the fountain of youth. Okay, let's just get it right.
Get it right. Get it right. Get it right. Always a pleasure. Thanks for waking up early for us because you're a different part of the world. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for all the amazing shit. You're the best.
Sure. No, thank you. Gigi. Thank you.
Gigi. Speaking of Gigi, thanks, Tam Bam. Let's go back to Gigi. Let's wrap this up, motherfucker. What's up? Hey, look. Tell you what, man. We have a night like this almost every night on Troubled Minds. It's fucking wild. I don't know, man. Tell me you got some good vibes. I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Oh, this was fantastic. Yeah. I loved every second of it. And this is a great show. And I love all of your callers and all of your audience listeners that are in the chat room. Everybody's on the level, you know, even though we might not all agree on everything at all times. Everybody's down for the cause. You know what I mean? So super hyped to be on the show tonight. And if you want to check us out, it's
do it. Plug
very
it.
simple.
Plug the fuck out of it. Go, Gigi, go. I'll put your website up right now. Do it.
Yeah, it's just shifthappensradio.com. We're on the Fringe FM, like Michael said, same time as Michael's show, just on Fridays at 7 p.m. Pacific. And we've got Mike Barra coming on from Ancient Aliens tomorrow night, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So hope to see some of you guys there. And but if not, I'll definitely see you guys here because I like to hang out here during not only during the show, but during the after hours as well. So thanks again for having me on, Michael. Very awesome. JP gives his hellos. He wished he could have been here, but he was still traveling a bit. So but yeah, that's about it. Thanks for having me on. This was awesome. I'm glad we got to share some theories tonight, and it was really cool the way that you were able to put those pictures up for everybody to see so that we could actually discuss them live on the show. I thought this was awesome. So
fantastic.
Very awesome, and thank you very much.
Thank you for spending your time with us and being gracious with your time. Like I said, it was like an hour or two, or maybe like radio stuff, but you're like, fuck it, let's go late in the night. A couple things real quick too before we cut this out. Please, shifthappensradio.com. Follow these guys. Gigi and JP, good friends of mine. They're very good dudes, and you can tell, right? Very articulate in the sense of, let's just talk about the possibilities, right? That's what it's always about. Interestingly, right? Like Derek said when he called in, shift happens, troubled minds. What is it? Troubled happens, shift minds. I don't fucking know. But this is the thing too. I want to tell you this, Gigi. I was on Gigi's show on Shift Happens a few weeks back, and I was not at my best. I was having a bad week, and so I'm saying, look, bro, we need to do it again when I'm right. And so I'm offering to you as well. You know me. We're good friends now. Put me on the thing. When you got an opening, you let me know. Give me some advance notice, and I'll pop in and we'll say hi and we'll do a thing on your show properly, because I was not at my best, and I hate doing a stream and like a talk and all the rest of this. Not at my best. I was in a bad. It was a bad week, dude, for a lot of reasons, and like I'll explain to you another time. But like, I feel bad about that because it kind of turned into, you know, the term is a shit show in my opinion, because not because of you or anything else, because of me, and I don't like that. So I owe you one, I owe you two, I owe you three. There you go. Let's do the thing. GGShiftHappensRadio.com. Click the thing. Put it in the chat. Kelly wants to know where we find GG's show. It's on Fringe FM Friday night, same time slot as Troubled Minds, 7 to 9 p.m. Friday night, Fringe. Let's get the fuck out of here. Gigi, you want to like draw some expletives as we play the outro music?
I think I've said everything I need to say, and
I've dropped the expletives. I've already done it.
Yeah, you did it for me, and man, I thought we had a cool show when you came on, but yeah, we'll definitely have you on. How about next month? How about that?
You let me know. I owe you one. I owe you 2 and 3 and 4. You let me know when you got like a vacate of guests. You hit me up. You know where to find me. I'll be there. Okay.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Appreciate it, brother. Everybody, Shift Happens Radio. See what I did there? It's like the fucking muscle memory. ShiftHappensRadio.com. Friday night. Look, if you're missing Troubled Minds on Friday night, you're doing it wrong because you should be listening to Shift Happens on Friday, the same time slot. Fringe FM. Hey, Gigi, do you actually stream anywhere else, or is it only Fringe FM?
Oh, it's everywhere. TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Spotify, YouTube, ShiftHappensRadio.com, the Fringe FM, but preferably just go listen at the Fringe FM.
There you go. There it is. Fringe FM, 7 p.m. Pacific, Friday night. You'll get GG, you'll get JP, you'll get Shift Happens, and you'll get amazing stuff. Thank you for being here. Thanks for spending your time. Look, if you want to be part of the show, you know what to do. TroubledMindsRadio@gmail. You contact me on Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. You're all invited. This is not about demagogues and like telling people they're wrong. This is about talking. This is about regular people having a conversation. If you want to help the show, there are a number of ways to do it. You can go to troubledfans.com. It is a play on troubled on onlyfans.com. troubledfans.com. You will find Troubled Minds merch there. And if you want to help the show other ways, and sub up in this order. Look, if you want to spend money, in this order is the best way. Sub up on Rockfin, sub up on Patreon, sub up on Twitch. In that order, all right? Because it's like in order of like who takes what amount of fees. All right. If you love the show and don't want to spend money or don't have money to spend, I completely get it. Spread the word. Spread the word. Spread the word. Word of mouth beats algorithms all day, every day. And that's the way this goes, right? Spread the word. Let somebody know there's like an actual conversation going on that doesn't fucking suck. All right? And you can also listen to the podcast feed. Look, this is nuts. Over 450 episodes on the podcast feed, right? It seems like a lot. Over 350,000 downloads. Troubled Minds. Holy fuck, right? I never dreamed it would get to this point. We're at this point, right?
That's awesome.
Right? Holy fuck. If you want to help the show, listen to the podcast feed. It's monetized with some minimal commercial interruptions. But look, 450 plus shows. I'm the only one who's been here for all of them. I'm pretty sure of that. And so the thing is this. When you're making dinner on the weekend and you miss us because you just listened to GG's show on Friday, Shift Happens, and you're like, Saturday, hey, I miss Troubled Minds. Pull up an old show. There's an unbelievable amount of amazing conversations. There you go. All right, let's get the fuck out of here. It goes exactly like this. You want to do it, Tam Bam?
Be sure, be strong, be true.
Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours,